Hello. Good, good.
Oh, Bob, this one's good.
Oh, I'm hungry. I had that for lunch. I got a chicken cake holiday and a taco and a large Dr. Pepper. I just I mean it doesn't cause me to poop, but have I taken a poop and previously drinking Dr. Pepper? Yes. Why are you making me say this on stream? Why are you making me say this on stream, Cat? I can't believe you would say that. Just because they can't hear you doesn't mean you get to say such words. You're the one who brought up pooping. Ew. Why wouldn't they? Besides, Zephyr made me do it.
Alrighty. You
Goodbye
cad.
forever.
Ah!
I'm gonna take
では前に出ます。
Hello. How's it going, chat? I just got the tweet live. Do me the favor, go give that some love. And we are pretty much good to go. I am a little bit behind schedule, so I will apologize for that. But like I said, pretty much ready to rock and roll already here. Trying to find a place to store the trash. There we go. Okay. Yeah, like I said, I already got the tweet out, so do me the favor, chat. Go give that some love. I have today's sauce for you guys. Barracuda. And let's begin. Hello, everybody. Did I just minimize every single thing on my computer? Yes, I did. Oh, fantastic. I never like it when that happens. Okay. Sorry about that. There we go. How's everybody doing today? Hope you guys are having a good one. I first, chat, before anything else, I have to give a heartfelt thank you to whoever reminded me to do Grail casting the other day. You were spot on. I hadn't done it yet. So you probably saved me 4 Grails. 2 on each server. It actually happened, a strengthening campaign? Yep, we got a strengthening campaign. Hello, Marcus. Hello, Lotus. How are you guys doing? I've pulled for Tiamom. Took me 450 quartz and 20 tickets. Nice. Congratulations. Here is today's artwork. Okayist was too fast there. He got the old art. Go give the artist some love, as you guys know. And yeah. So, you know, kind of out of left field. I think, obviously, a strengthening campaign was on the, like, list of possibilities. I just think a lot of us have become jaded. A lot of us expect nothing at this point. And so it's like, oh, wait, they did something. What? So that was a surprise. I did not expect them to do much of anything. I do have the Ordeal Call 3 stuff that I kind of need to do. We literally have the live stream tomorrow. So Thursday is live stream. Friday is probably Draco rolls, chat. So I realize, like, I'm actually, like, kind of busy now. Oh, I kind of need to get these done. And we're going to go over that here in a minute. Just let me get my AP down here. Trying to think about, like, what it is I need to do. Nothing else left on that front. 75% AP down. What? I guess we're going to go do Arjuna's. What was I running this with? Was it Musashi? Yeah, okay. Sweet. How are we coming on this Mystic Code? Still 2 million to go. I am not maximizing Mystic Code experience at the moment. Let's try to switch that around. That's good enough. I'll just switch to one. CAD the Rolls video was fun. Glad to hear you liked it. I just want to say thank you guys. I hope you guys are appreciating the editing that Okayist is doing. I think he is definitely doing a good job myself, and I've been trying to work with him. As you guys know, I've been trying to like read up on some of the stuff that I can be doing better. I've been trying to blame myself a whole lot more rather than be like, that's the algorithm that's fucking me, right? Because the algorithm, I think, is an issue regardless, but the algorithm is a reflection of how people feel about my content. It is quite literally, if my content is not performing well, it's because people aren't feeling the desire to come watch my videos. If people aren't feeling the desire to come watch my videos, it's probably that they're either not informative, or they're boring, or they're just bad. And so I have chosen to take that upon myself to try and make it better. I think that's the fairest way to look at it. Not enough pog faces for thumbnails? Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that. I don't know that the faces necessarily correlates to like a good response. That being said, I do think there's some stuff that we can still do, still kind of refine the formula quite a bit. I don't think we're done by any means. Indeed. Everybody needs to remember their lunchbox. A rare non-any strengthening campaign. Last time we saw this was in 2021. That's a good point. Has been a hot second. And that's, I think, a good reason for why, like, not really any of us actually expected this. It was on our radar as something that they could do, but, like, we're so used to not getting strengthenings. Like I said before, they've been doing like upgrades to units at a decent clip, but it still feels like it's not enough. It still feels like they could be doing things a whole lot better and kind of getting a whole lot more out of it. You need to have units and only these. Yeah, I think, like, unfortunately, for better or worse, I do believe that you're right. I do believe most other content creators only focus on the, like, big name units. And chat, now's the point where I do have to say some of this. Some unfortunate truths. I can improve my content all I want. It will not matter without you guys' support. Okay? I've asked many times for that. I will continue to ask for it, but it is the truth of the matter. And for better or worse, I have to say, content creators are a reflection of the community. If you don't like the content creators, you're the reason they're bad. And that sounds fucking crazy, but it's the truth, right? What do I mean? Well, okay. Here I am making content for, like, all units. My content is not getting views. Then you have other content creators that are making it only for a select. Their content gets better views because people only care about these units. Well, guess what? Did you suddenly want them to make a video on something that's not one of those select few units? They're not going to do it because nobody's watching it. And that's the truth of the matter, right? Like, so that's what I'm saying. It's like, I know that doesn't sound good to hear. It sounds like I'm blaming you guys or something like that, but it is the truth. Content creators usually do what their community responds to. Congrats on your team out rolls. Love the video. Thank you, Say. Appreciate it. In fact, this is the first unit is Arjuna seems to imply that they realize these units need upgrades to make them relevant. Here's the thing. We're going to talk about Arjuna's upgrade. Arjuna's upgrade is probably better than most people think, but it's also like, it's not that good of an upgrade. Are you ready for the SSR Lancer buff to be Tama Lancer? Aside from the Tamamo wank in the community already being nigh unsufferable, yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that. I think Tamamo Lancer could use an upgrade. I think it's literally a three-way tie between Vitra, Lartoria, and Tamamo Lancer. Chat, I do have to say this. I'm sorry. Some of the community has to be called out for how absolutely stupid they are. I have seen people unironically beg for Melisande to get buffed because they think she needs it. And I'm just like, how can you be that stupid? I don't understand. and here's the answer to this, chat. They're not. This is a classic example. A classic example of how I can point to people just absolutely will let their bias dictate every single one of their decisions. They do not give two shits about any other Lancer in the game as long as their favorite gets buffed. That's it. That's all they care about. 100%. And it is what it is, right? Like, so it's like them sitting there trying to like be like, oh, it's time for her to get a buff. It's like, no, it's not. It will never be time for her to. Like, they chat. To put this into perspective, they would literally need to buff every single other 5-star Lancer to be better than Melisande before I would consider a Melisande buff. That's how strong Melisande is. Like, that's how badly the scales will tip if they ever touch her again. And I'm not saying this out of like Melisande hate or anything like that. I'm saying this out of like people just don't understand. And it's freaking hilarious to me. Could do something neat with skill 2, but otherwise absolutely not. No, like I won't even hear that argument. This isn't like a to be fair CAD blah 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 blah. No, Melisande does not need an upgrade. There is no argument to be made that Melisande actually does need an upgrade. Like, I hear y'all, I just don't think there's any sane argument. It is quite literally but I want the most broken unit in my class to be more broken. Whenever you try to make any claim that she needs an upgrade, that's what comes out of your mouth, whether or not you realize it. And that's what I'm trying to say. It's like, chat, it's the equivalent of being like, God, it's time. It's been 2 years. Tiamat really needs an upgrade. It's like, no, she doesn't. I don't know how much power creep there would need to be had before Mel would need a buff. Yeah, and that's my point. So it's like, I get it, but I just assume some people like to just watch the world burn when they ask for this sort of stuff, and I'm just like, no, I'm sorry. Like, literally every other unit's gonna have to get buffed. Others speak of Hordian favoritism. Oh yeah, 100%. And like, look, I'll be honest with you. The unit I want to get buffed is 100% my bias and my favoritism, right? However, I think if I pull myself out of it and I look at the situation objectively, yeah, the unit that I want to get buffed absolutely needs a buff. And I don't think that one's really up for dispute. I think the only thing people can try to dispute is, does another unit need it more? And it's like, yeah, I do think that's a fair argument. So it's like me sitting here saying, like, yes, I really want Lartray to get buffed. Do I really want Lartray to get buffed? Absolutely. Is it bad of me, though, to make that claim? No, because she is already in such a position. And furthermore, I'm willing to acknowledge she's not the only unit that does. I really think Bryn's going to get the buff instead of Lartrea. Well, maybe. I don't know, to be honest. I've seen people be like, oh, because we got Arjuna already, it's going to be Karna. And I'm like, it's not going to be Karna. Karna is actually in a pretty good spot. Don't get me wrong, he could use another one, I think. But the argument for Karna needing another buff is literally Melisson. And I'm not kidding. Like there isn't... It's not that Karna's in a bad spot. It's that Karna literally just is getting absolutely curb stomped by a more powerful unit. Like, even in her niche. Though, to be fair, guess who's getting curb stomped harder, chat? %25% is just so dumb. Yeah, and that's basically what I'm gonna have a problem with in the Arjuna buff here, but we'll talk about that. I just want to say that I think Bryn is in a better spot than Lancer Arturia, but in a worse spot than Tama Lancer. You think Bryn is in a worse spot than Tama Lancer? Really? How so? Bias against no survival. Okay, maybe, right? Like, I was just gonna say, because, like, to me, the raw damage output just absolutely is like, there isn't like a canyon there. There's a gulf. I want to see a buff where they change someone's deck. I don't think you'll ever see that. They'll probably do it by way of a, like, how should I put it? Like, probably by way of a like skill change, where it'd be like, oh, now they have a skill that allows them, kind of like happened with OG Artoria, right? Remember, her Dragon Core turns all of her cards to Buster. I could see something like that into the future. Wait. I thought it was just the new one. I can finally get rid of them all for the first time in like 3 years. What? We yearn for the mines? Understandable. Okay, let's go to NA. I spent 15 AP. That's enough for like an hour. I'm absolutely going to take advantage of that. Time to clear the backlog? Oh yeah, absolutely will. Chat, do you know how much quartz is there? I'm dead serious. Like, do you know how much quartz is in that? That's at least 2 per. Okay? At least 2 per. Plus, every time I hit a 10 milestone, I get 10 more. So, there's got to be at least, like, a good 40 quartz there. At least. Oh, yeah. No, God, 40? That's an underestimate. That's... Assuming there's even 20 of them there, that's like... That's 60, at least. So 2 multis just sitting there. $15 is about an hour and 50 minutes. Yeah, it's... Trust me, I'm unfortunately well aware of that stuff. Wait, okay, so did I do everything I needed to do for the missions here? I did that, I did that, I did everything there. Chat, where do I get 3 divine servants? Preferably with archers or casters. Trying to think. I'm sure there's some in like Fuki XE. Unless there's some in like 6.5. Costa Vorpal Chicken Costa. Oh wait, yeah, so they're gonna count for servants, but they're not gonna count for divinity. So it'd have to be something that also had like some sort of like divine enemy or shadow servant. I think that's Yellow Turban guy. I don't think he's divine in any way. Damn. Gilgamesh? Yeah, and the Archer one, but I don't want to have to do the Archer training grounds chat. Unless you... Oh, Septum and Gaul. Indeed. All right. Should work. Ah, yes. Let's Tiamat our way through this. This is the epitome of complete overkill. Chat, if you guys didn't see the demonstration I did the other day, I'm going to do it again. And like I said, we're probably going to like end up making another like video or short or something out of it because apparently a lot of people just didn't know you could do this. If you want to Black Grail Tiamat, one of the best ways to loop with her, obviously you do need her append unlocked and max, so that is going to be a concern for a lot of people. But you want to start out with Oberon in the front line as opposed to Double Koyanskaya in the front line. And then you're still going to run Double Koyanskaya, but you're going to have the other Koyanskaya in your back line that you'll rotate in with Plug Suit. So basically, I just always start out popping everything here on Tiamat, kind of getting all of her stuff there on cooldown. And then we're going to use the last 2 skills for Koyan there. And then basically end up doing Oberon's first skill there. It's going to bring her up to 100%. Fire off the NP. Nice and easy. Great big honking horn she has. Yep. What are my predictions for the bus? We'll talk about that in a second. Advanced quest with Saber Lily, Robin Hood, and Coup. Oh no, I don't want to have to do an advanced quest. Alright, so then we're going to go ahead and we're going to pop that. Now, chat, you have a choice. You can either choose to take the lazy way and pop this now, or you can delay this till turn 3. I recommend delaying it unless turn 2 actually needs it, and the reason why is because you can double stack it on turn 3. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to rotate now for the other Koyanskaya, bring her in, go ahead and pop her Buster up, but we're not going to use her charge skill. Resist that urge. Use Oberon's charge skill instead. We'll have a 20% drain on the back end of it, but you don't care because it's a Buster unit. Resist the Logos. Now my Tiamat's at all 7s? Yeah. It's definitely a thing if you don't have the resources to be able to get her up. And then to end, now we're going to go ahead and pop the third skill, But we still have Koi and Sky's charge skill, so we're going to use that. And boom, there you go. We got all of her skills back, including her third skill again. So we managed to be able to double pop this in the final turn. We're going to go ahead and use Oberon's third skill now, and then the Mystic Code attack buff. And this is just going to do dumb damage, especially considering one of these enemies is resistant. $3 million against a resistant enemy. Feels good, man. There you go. Already bonded her up too. Music kind of fits. Yep. I mean, to be fair, this is a really low node, so like class advantage just doesn't really matter here. It's not like I'm particularly struggling against, you know, oh my god, it's 1000 HP. Only in P2, by the way. Yes, that's true. Only in P2, not Grailed, not Gold Foed, so it just kind of gets stronger from here. And, like, if this were an NP1, that'd still probably be dealing a good, like, 2.4, 2.5 million. So you'd still be dealing a crap ton of damage. You gotta be careful, though, because, like, me trying to go fast, I have to resist the urge to, like, press buttons in the normal, conventional way. FGO theme song, yeah. Did you remember to regular foe her? Yes, I did prioritize her for the regular foes. Like, units that I haven't finished foeing on my NA due to that mishap I had last year, like, I have, like, Wang Fei Hu that needs to be foed and stuff like that. So it's like, most of the units I actually care about are actually foed. There's just a couple of, like, units that I probably won't use very often that haven't received the foes yet. And it wouldn't be the end of the world if I had to use them. There we go. Yeah, your biggest issue on Tiamat is going to be the odd structure to the composition and skill order. That's going to cause you to maybe have some mishaps if you don't practice with it a little bit, if you don't commit it to memory and especially muscle memory. Oh, is it slow down to remind myself not to use Oberon skill 3 too early? Yep. Wang Fei Hu? Yes. Who? Yeah, the people are saying you need NP2, you don't need NP2. NP2 is really good for, like, the in-game content with, like, 90++, but to just be able to use her, no, you can use her at NP1. Her damage is just stupid, so that's kind of how it has been. And again, you can see, once you have it down, it's pretty quick. I mean, it's definitely slow, but it's as slow as, like, Buster compositions are, right? It's just there's a lot of button presses here, and the order does matter. So you have to, like, kind of get that down. But I mean, chat's not really that different from Kukulkan in that sense. So just understand it's just going to be that way. There's still ways to do it, yeah. Happy to finally have her, even if pity, but didn't expect her to be this adorable. Really like her My Room lines. Listen, I keep telling you guys this. They do this to you guys every time. Every time. Just when you think you're not going to roll a unit, they make the unit more desirable than you realized. It's almost like they know that's a thing, and they do it on purpose. I don't have Oberon. Oberon will definitely put a little bit of a dent in this. Without Oberon, let me think here. Yeah, so this is a standard makeup where 50 is hers and 50 is hers. The other 50 here coming from your triple chargers. You could at least get an append. So you'd still be able to start from like a 30% standpoint. And I'm not even factoring in her third skill. So let's think about that. If I factor in the third skill, can I manipulate this to my advantage? So that would mean that you would get 20% here, get 10% on the front end. You know she has 50% charge, so you're sitting at 80. Here, you could get it, but it's probably better to attempt to double stack if at all possible. So we're going to go ahead and give her the 20 here. We also know she'll get her 50% charge back. And then you at least have the two missing 50%. So how would I do this? Yeah, you can do it with Reigns. Because this is also 80. No, sorry, this is also 70. Okay. So how you would do this is you would do 20% with Reigns in the front end and 30% with Reigns on the back end. That's how I would do it. Okay. So you could still do it without Oberon, but it would be really spicy. We should have 3-turn brain round, so I want a 3-turn if possible. Oh yeah, and you definitely can here. One more. I was gonna leave, but it's like may as well run it just for the easy two archer quest. I guess if he gets the buff, we'll talk about that in a minute. She's showing up sooner here than she did in Japan. You're right, Lotus, but the counter argument to that also applies. Zerctoria is in fact showing up sooner than she did in Japan. So is Draco. So it don't matter. And actually, I say that Zerctoria may still be a little bit floating. Like, I still probably earlier than JP had it, but probably not like as different as we are right now. I pray for Kiritsugu buff. Bro is still in year 1 FGO. Yeah. It's like pretty wicked because of own 120% Buster mod. Yeah. And again, like the big key to certain units are again going to be like double Koyanskaya to be able to like double double reduce the cooldowns, get back to everything in tandem. So sorry, my brain got a little bit like, wait, did I do that too soon? Two buffs for Satheno. Chat, no buff is going to give Satheno a damage dealing NP. I'm sorry. And I say that like watch them do something like that in the future at some point, but oh yeah, it's definitely gonna be Assassin Wu, right? Like she really needs. It's not like it's let's see, how long has it been since Wu's last upgrade? Only a couple of years. How would you buff Satheno? I would make her more supportive. That's how I would do it. Because to me, if you don't have damage on your NP, you're only being taken for a support purpose. So you need to increase the scenarios that she can be taken in effectively. And I think that would work. Okay, that finally got these done. And we are quite literally just in pre-campaign hell at the moment, chat. We don't have anything else going on. Make sure you guys take advantage of the missions. Try to get everything you can done ahead of the event. You guys know you're going to have a 3-week collab event coming up here. It's not going to be a difficult one. Well, I say that. Certain fights in it may be a little bit spicier, but like it's literally going to be a very straightforward mission-based event. Like I said, you don't have that many nodes, so there's not a whole lot of guesswork as to like how to get stuff done. So it's definitely going to be one to look forward to. It's definitely going to be a pretty chill one. I do think the story is going to be really good for it, so I hope you guys enjoy that too. But yeah, like I said, I would just kind of clear the schedule, get everything you can completed. Don't forget your Grail casting, as somebody pointed out to me yesterday, and it is what it is. That is in the books. Whoosh. Good time to farm up embers if you're low. I ain't low. Okay, so good lord. I have so many I need to do. Have I just not leveled my Nightingale? Is that what that is? Hold that thought. God, this is such a like tear. I'll clear that out at some point, but now chat, behold my amount of evocation leaves. Cat been a lazy boy in that regard. Should be enough there. Nightside Hero, thank you for the raid. Welcome. How was your stream? Let's do this. And then I only have 5 bows at all. Really don't want to take a 40 stack out. One, two, three. One, two, three. Shit. Oh no. Should have taken the 10 stack. Tried to make it a nice even amount. Alright, well, I'm gonna take the 10 stack now. Did you buy monthly foes? I did. Is it smart to leave Saint Quartz in the present box? Is it unsmart to? I don't think it's an intelligence factor. I think it's just literally me leaving it there because I don't go look in my present box all that often. Because the issue at Play Chat is my present box almost always has stuff in it due to me hoarding embers. So as a result, you get used to just not checking it because you learn to ignore it. Because that thing is always shaking at you. You know what? Let's just go straight into the 5-star embers. Any reason to keep the command codes in the box? No. Just me not wanting to put you guys through complete and total inventory hell on stream. Imagine saving for another 120. You know me. Hello, Robo. I think I've been too harsh on Nightingale's design. I think like originally I felt like it didn't fit FGO, and over the years I've kind of softened on that, and I just am like, it looks fine. Like she threw a soft bet at you over it? No. I want her to be better though, sadly. Like as far as it comes to support, I think she's one of the like weakest ones in the entire game. And it's weird because it's not like she doesn't do good things in her kit. She does. It's just like her entire kit is niche. The entirety of it. Perhaps I treated you too harshly. 100% that meme. Her gameplay sucks. Yeah, that's like it's even still. I think like she can be used effectively. I think the problem is just that like she is objectively speaking like the worst solution to most problems. Okay, so that unlocked her upgrade. Gonna back out 2 of those. Just in case I get a proc. Actually, what would happen if I backed out 1? Still too far, so it's pretty much even using the 5-star embers compared to before. Why bring Nightingale when you can bring Merlin? Yeah, I mean, I think that's just one of the biggest issues that they have at the moment. It's not even necessarily like Merlin. It's like what Nightingale really does, she debilitates the enemy's attack power quite a bit. But it kind of ends up being weird since why bother debilitating the enemy's attack power if I can just make it so the enemy doesn't deal damage to me? Like, you can basically prevent damage rather than try to take less. So it's like, it's just all around safer to use units like Castoria, for instance. Oh my god. Game. I think I accidentally tapped the bar was why. FG isn't really designed for tanking. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, she's not really designed for tanking either. That's like her biggest issue. Finally at 90. I can fit the 4-star Ember in. Save myself a 5-star Ember. Okay, so now she's done. Yet another unit done. Actually, turn that off and turn that off. The Artorias aren't gonna get leveled. The is that my only Hot Wheels? I think that is my only Hot Wheels. Oh, and Kashin Kochi. Oh no. Alright, I'll have to deal with that later. Double Esport Artoria? Listen, chat. Listen, we don't talk about that. Man, who do I want to do first? I think we just slowly and methodically murder them as we move down the list. How is Night going? Night's going good. Give her a big battery so you can quick deploy her to tank and NP and buff and die. I mean, yeah, to a degree, right? I think, like, there's some of these units where it's like, I understand they don't want to necessarily make them into, like, some sort of, like, meta charge support, right? I get that. But to me, what those units then lack is they lack the ability to charge themselves. So it naturally becomes an issue at this point for certain units that were built, you know, back in like year 1 or year 2. They just don't really have a whole lot of like capacity to get to an NP themselves. I mean, Lucario, I wouldn't call it a niche team that gets very rarely used. In fact, I would argue that is the exact point of Immortal Comp, is that it's not niche. It's applicable to just about everything. Yeah. A 30% AoE charge would go an extremely long way. Oh, it definitely would. And like, should they do that for Nightingale? I don't know. I think it's interesting because, like, I'll give you guys an example, not to beat the dead horse and bring up the Tamamo fans again, but you already have a war between like Merlin and Clean Sky of Dark. So now imagine adding another one to that mix. Now imagine adding the Nightingale. And then you start to go like, oh crap, right? Like, and I'll be honest, Merlin still wins that matchup. Like, he would absolutely be taking over her every single time. So we can bring it to the lotto. Okay. Counterpoint, Lucario. Every single challenge unit you've ever rolled then is by definition niche. By definition, not used very commonly. By definition, challenge content itself is a niche concept. It's not a good argument you're making. Like Alter and QSH barely used. I mean, that's fine. That's on you, though, right? You could certainly take them to the nodes very much more than you do, right? The idea, though, is that you don't because you choose to do other things. I just would, like, look, at the end of the day, I'm pointing out that calling the Immortal Comp niche when the entire premise behind it is to be a one-size-fits-all solution to, like, the vast majority of challenge content in the game just does not make sense. Like at face value, that is incorrect. You mean light? No, yeah, I meant dark. Basically, it's really funny because a lot of people wanted Merlin to get upgraded. Merlin really didn't need the upgrade. And then it was sort of like the monkey paw curled. And the people screaming for Merlin to get upgraded. Merlin got upgraded and he ended up power creeping Koyan Sky of Dark. Which I think makes people go like, what? A decent enough chance for at least 2 Dracos? Yeah, probably. And actually, honestly, you could take a Mortal Comp to a Lotto node. And it would kill every single Lotto node. Should you? No. But could you? Yes. Maiden, thank you for the follow. You can take it to every node. I mean, there's definitely things that defeat it, but... Make her a character like Mandricardo where she can sack herself and give heavy buffs on death. You can do that. I do think people already do that, though. She's a very easy unit to get killed because she's already a berserker. So, like, you could do it. The easiest way would be to, like, literally give her skills a taunt. Or you could just throw a taunt CE on her and she'll do it herself. Or use Qinggong and have her sacrifice, or have him sacrifice her, right? New NA player here, old JP. Ah, I see. Nice content. Thank you. Appreciate it. Hope you're enjoying it. We're actually in the process of trying to improve the content because I think my content had gotten a little stale. But welcome to the channel. Happy to have you. Let me know if you have any questions. Not forget your bento or else the school will be nuked by mom. Apparently. Would it be ridiculous if they upgrade Ryoma, Rider, and Lancer this campaign? No. I'm going to say Rider probably doesn't get an upgrade because Rider's actually already had an upgrade. But Lancer, to me, Lancer doesn't really need it more than Vitra does. But I do think Lancer's down there. And I think, for better or worse, at this point, every other Lancer not named Ereshkigal is chasing Mel. And why do I say not Ereshkigal? Because Ereshkigal is the only Lancer that can surpass Mel. Sometimes. Helping me get back on track. I quit the game 5 years ago, so a lot to catch up on. Ooh, yeah, you definitely got a lot. It's a good time to start, though. NA is just about to get the Evocation Festival, so you'll be able to acquire like all the old welfares as they start to come out. Definitely a nice thing. Odds on Tamashark NP interlude finally. I think it can happen. I think Tamamo Lancer, Lartoria, and Vitra are like the 3 like top candidates. That's right, make Erish's skill 2 buff 3 turns. I mean, they might eventually. I'll say this though, like, it's still weird to me. The argument always was that Erish had so much going on in her kit that it made sense for her to be the least damaging of the AoE Lancers. So it's really weird to me now that, like, they've made her arguably one of the strongest. Now, that being said, I really have no problem with it. Because I think at this current point in time, Melson is your biggest issue. I think Melisson, with how much she is capable of doing, is the unit that dictates balance for the entirety of that class. Lancer one can be pretty spicy because a lot of Lancers pre-Melisson need one buff to be good again. I wouldn't even necessarily say it's one. Like, so the problem is, chat, and I do think you're going to see a lot of people like, if this are it, like, let's just say for a second here, it's like a Lartoria buff. What would it take for Lartoria to actually be able to outpace Mel? Would an NP interlude do it? Nope. Like, they could come out on Tuesday, give Lartoria an NP interlude, and it would still not be enough for her to beat Melisson. 10% more charge. Okay, so you want her to be able to touch Black Grail. If you allow her to touch Black Grail, does she beat Melisson, chat? Does anyone know? I was trying to find a way to play on PC. Playing on PC is basically going to be emulators at this point. I'm not like... So I actually play on my phone, as you can see, kind of, right? So, like, I'm not someone that's super familiar with it, but there are several people in the community that do use emulators. So feel free to ask, and hopefully someone can help you. I know Avalon is somebody that does, so he normally has it. I believe he uses a pretty good one, but I don't remember which... Excuse me, I don't remember which one he does use. Oh, yeah, so back to that. So, like... The issue at play here is for Lartoria to beat Melisson, several things must be true. One, an NP interlude must occur. Two, 10% charge must be had. This can come by way of increasing the amount that she gets off the back end of her NP. This can come by increasing literally her charge skill. This can come by giving her overcharge. So there are numerous ways they could go about doing something like this. That then allows her to touch Black Grail. This, in and of itself, both of these two things occurring, if it is a standard NP interlude and she gets 10% charge, somehow, this is still not enough. She could win, but she would only win in cases where basically I think it's like I think it's only when it's both chaotic and evil. Has to be both. If it's both, she wins handedly. If it's only one, it's extremely close. Like, it's so close that I don't know that it matters at that point, right? And if it's none, then essentially Melisson still wins. Oh, man. If Lartoria can touch Black Grail and she has a chance, yeah. Like, and this is basically just the issue that most units have. If there's ever a unit out there that is Buster and touches Black Grail, no other unit in their class will surpass them unless they can also touch Black Grail. And that kind of is the issue at this point. Oberon is just that strong, so he naturally creates a huge scaling gap if a unit can start from zero. And so it just naturally ends up in this like really weird set of circumstances. And I should denote, chat, that those calculations that I basically were just talking about only apply to an MLB like Super Black Grail. They do not apply to something like Rising Mudrain, which would do less damage. So you can loop with her with Rising Mudrain. It will not do enough. And then comes the entire debate of like, does a unit need to do more damage than Melisson? I don't know, but I'm going to say that they have a major problem on their hands because Melisson is both popular and perfectly adaptable to the point that there is quite literally no reason to roll another Lancer unless they buff some of the other Lancers beyond Melisson. It is, in a weird way, it is the Space Ishtar problem that they had long ago. And if you guys remember how they dealt with Space Ishtar was they kept Space Ishtar even. They never buffed her, at least not to this point, right? And they ended up buffing each one of like the major competitors in the other classes to be stronger than her. So it's like, it's not like Space Ishtar's bad. Space Ishtar's damage is still really good. The issue is those other units now outshine her because they're more restrictive than she is. They're not as adaptable and not as widely applicable as she is. So Space Ishtar ends up still being like huge one size fits all, but the other ones in their given card type are stronger. Yep. And that is a balanced lesson that they learned, and I don't know why they unlearned it. Because at this point, and like I said, I'll be honest with you guys, at this point, Tiamat is a huge issue for balance. Because when you look at something like Space Ishtar being strong, yeah, she's also an extra class, but she was neutral to most other things out there in the game. So it's like, it wasn't the end of the world with her. Whereas like, you look at like Tiamat is actually effective and does actually encroach into the major niches that the other units have. So I think they messed up with Tiamat. I'm gonna be honest with you. Tristar also can't Black Grail loop. Well, she can, but you got to do some stuff to make that happen. At least Summermel is somewhat balanced. Summermel is also really strong, but she's not so absurdly strong that like other rulers can't pass her. So in that regard, yeah, she's way more balanced than Mel is. Whereas like if you look at like OG Mel, OG Mel is so imbalanced that the strongest Lancer in the game came out prior to her and was significantly the strongest Lancer in the game. She is so strong that Lancer cannot exceed her damage output. Like, you literally end up having to do stuff with Roma to get him to like, what is it, like 12 or 15 stacks or something crazy like that before he'll even get close to her number. And it's just like, that's absurd, given the fact that he has super effective scaling on that stuff. Moriarty is the crazy one in P buff with ramp up. Well, they kind of needed to make Moriarty strong. And Moriarty is the textbook case of, like, for instance, chat, y'all have Melisson Summer coming out this year. So why would anybody in their right mind roll Moriarty Ruler since you already had Clairvoyance and you knew it? They had to buff Moriarty Ruler. No one was rolling him. Like, I think there's a lot of factors that go into that, but I think a chief one amongst them was that while people didn't like the unit, I think a lot of people were hiding behind the excuse. And this excuse is a lie, but I think the devs basically said, we're going to take that away from people. We're going to make it so that they can't say he's not good. He is good. He's really freaking good now. So if you don't roll Moriarty Ruler, it's not because he's not good now. Now you just have to come out and admit it's because you don't like him. Though, to be fair, like I said, I don't think that was really an issue even before. Doom, 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 doom. No, cat, he's evil. Yeah, it's like I said, I think there's a couple reasons people don't like him. Either they don't like him due to story, they don't like his younger form because he's a little bit more brash and in your face, or, you know, again, they just didn't like him because he represented some sort of threat to a unit they cared about more. I don't really care to get into the why so much as, if you look at that objectively, if you pull yourself out of like opinions on the individual characters, you can see where the issue lied and why the devs dealt with it the way that they did. And so I think when you have a popularity contest going on, one of the easiest things to do to even the odds is to make the more popular character hold them even, and to make the less popular character basically increase their performance, their damage output and stuff. If you do this, then you give the less popular character a reason to be rolled over the one that clearly everybody is going to roll anyways. Mine, thank you for the 52. Appreciate it. NP3 and like 500? God damn. Seems like a lot of people got lucky. I know, like, that's not everyone, right? Am I the only one that thinks it's weird that they have been making a lot of summer outfits outside of summer recently? No, I also think that's weird. We're basically dealing with summerflation. Or he's a loser compared to old man. Well, like I said, I'm not gonna get into the why, right? I think the why is every individual player's prerogative. But I think if you look at that objectively, you'll see that's why they did it. And I think it makes sense. It's an example I could give you is you can look at the like Arjuna buff here. Chat, Arjuna is so much more usable than he used to be. He's still not great, I would say. But like if you roll an Arjuna and you don't have like an Ishtar or a Gilgamesh or something like that, he's still a very quality option for you. And I think they've kind of broken that mold, that idea that like, oh yeah, he's a bad archer. He's not. And I think at that regard, he is definitely a very serviceable option. He's just still clunky, and that is, unfortunately, for better or worse, just a stigma they're going to have to try to buck. But I don't know how they do it at this point, because Arjuna has literally had everything buffed. He has had all three of his skills and his Noble Phantasm buffed. So they're going to have to start getting into, hey, we have to buff him again. And that's, to me, allow me, chat. Unless they narratively have a reason for why they would like a unit to receive a second buff for like story purposes, I'm going to go ahead and say them buffing any sort of unit a second time on a skill, on an NP, it doesn't really matter. If they do it a second time, that is tantamount to them admitting that they fucked up. Because it's the truth. Like, they did. And I think you can go back, you can look at just about every single unit that has received a second buff to a skill or an NP, and you can see why that happened. The original buff was not a good buff. An example that I would give you guys is like, for instance, Vlad has had his NP buff twice. Why? Because the first buff that Vlad got wasn't good. It was what it was. Like it was righting an old wrong. Virginia should be a single target. His whole kit is literally build CQ. Yeah, it's really funny at this point. I think he is a very strong unit outside of a 3-turn environment. His kit's just actually kind of busted for that sort of like staying power argument. But God, I don't know. And it's like, to me, that's where it's like, I'm okay with him being the way that he is. It's just, I don't think he's ever going to receive a lot of credit from people because of that. Excuse me. And it's also because he's a unit that I think, like, over the years has just kind of had to go through the paces and get all of those buffs. So a lot of people have a negative like perception of him. They have this stereotype of like everybody remembers like year one Arjuna, where he just was not that good, and therein lies the problem. Wish they buff Ishtar third skill and made it instant, because in a 3-turn comp we lost it at least once. That is the issue with delayed activation skills. And it's really funny because you just naturally end up having those sorts of problems where it's like, oh, there's a timer buff. Well, the timer buff is unique, so you can't get it multiple times. I don't know why. I think those skills are jank. They just need to make them not unique or something like that. In a weird way, it's a different issue, but a very similar one, in that MHX also has a delayed activation, and it fails not due to it necessarily being unique. It fails due to the fact that if you, for instance, kill an entire wave and try to set up the delayed skill to activate on the following wave, it won't. It will instead go off on the wave that you just killed at the end of that before you move to the next area. So it's like, great. And that's a really easy one to fix, by the way. You make it, instead of activating at the end of the player's turn, you make it activate at the beginning of the enemy's turn. Or basically, it activates at the beginning of the player's next turn, whichever one you want to go with. Whee! Hopefully they can remember Xiang Yu exists. Xiang Yu is in such a like weird state at this point. I'm not even going to argue that one. I think Xiang Yu is a really strong candidate for that buff. Knight needs the buff more. I mean, Nightingale is that perennially running, though. Like, I don't think that's anything unique in that regard. Give him the Khazra drop treatment? What do you mean? They give her the same buff that Karna got. What do you mean? The buff playing at the start of each turn? Yeah. Okay, I got you. I just wasn't sure like which specific scenario we were talking about that you guys were referring to. Mama Raiko buff incoming? Raiko really doesn't need it again. Kat, are you knowledgeable in PC builds? I need advice. Kind of. Just go ahead and ask, and if not, someone else in chat can probably answer. Like, I've built several computers myself, but it depends. Are you going to cover the Nintendo Direct stream tomorrow? What time is that? Because we have the NA live stream. Oh, you got the monitor in here too. Interesting. There's only two things I would point out on seeing this. I'm just making sure it's not like showing me anything for you. The two things I would point out is the why the two different monitors. Unless these are just like, hey, these are your two options. That's fine, but like I would try to like homogenize that and get all of one monitor. Otherwise, it might drive you batty with them being different like brands and it like having that. You can ignore the monitors. Okay. So yeah, I was like, I would just like, if you're going to buy like, you know, 1, 2, or 3 of them, just buy all of the same brands so that you don't have a like weird mismatch. Another thing I would point out, this absolutely not enough storage for the vast majority of people. 2 terabytes is definitely a lot. You will mow through that in the era of modern gaming, is all I can say. I highly recommend getting a second thing for storage. And you can either like, you know, like put your operating system on one and then kind of do a lot of the like Steam storage and other stuff on another one. But I would definitely recommend getting at least a second one. And like, even if it's just like a singular terabyte or something like that. Experience has shown me the more storage you get, the less you'll have to like do that on the back end later. But yeah, I can't really speak to the actual individual parts as to like whether or not there's compatibility issues. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that the CPU and the motherboard are gonna play nice, right? But assuming all of that is true, yeah, I don't see anything here that's problematic. This looks like a fairly strong computer too. I think you'll be fine. Old PC is 100 gigabytes for my main drive, and it's awful. Yeah, listen. I finally got like my laptop back because it had really small drives, and I actually had 2 drives, and for some odd reason, I don't know why they did this, but when I ordered the laptop, I asked for the extra drive to get put in, and they what's the term, chat, where they combine a drive with another one? I'm trying to remember, but like the 2 drives were basically combined into one. One of them had hardware failure. It took the other one down. I had to order 2 completely new ones. Raid, thank you. Yes. Yeah, so it's like it just was oof. But yeah, I learned the hard way because that thing, like that laptop was almost full anyways when it crapped out on me. Yeah, definitely do yourself the favor. Get the extra storage space. You'll thank yourself later. And if you're lucky, you can try to like, especially if you're like patient with the build, you can try to like get some of those pieces on sale. Usually what I like to do, I like to wait until like Black Friday, Cyber Monday to do most of my PC shopping, but I will have a build already created prior to that, and then I will like sale surf. And so like I'll sit there and I'll adjust the build and order parts depending on what I think would get me the best bang for my buck. Sometimes though it's nigh unavoidable, like certain big ticket items like the video card and the like the chip, it's very unlikely that those go on sale if you're trying to get certain ones. Like if you're willing to be way more open about what the capability of your computer is, you can absolutely get a sale. But otherwise, you're going to have to be like kind of just accepting that the prices for those things are what they are. But everything else usually goes on sale. In particular, RAM is a usually really good one to get on sale. I haven't built a PC in 10 years, so I'm clueless. Thanks so much. Oh, it's all good. Yeah, and if you ever have questions, you can always ask in Discord. There's plenty of people that love to do that stuff. In fact, I know Mr. Ashuramiru is also building a PC right now. And usually I have help from multiple people whenever I go to build one as well. Like, I end up doing all the building myself, but I end up, like, inevitably, I encounter some sort of weird scenario that, like, I've never seen before across all the PCs I've built. Or terabyte in VME if you can. Yep. Well, I mean, let me see here. Yeah, there you guys go. Well, welcome to my drives. So you can see. And I built this computer like holiday season last year. So I was so sick and tired of having storage issues. I was like, wait, the 4 terabyte NVMe is on sale? Okay, I'm gonna get 2 of them. I said, nah, I ain't dealing with that shit anymore. It's so nice to have like storage and be like, man, which drive should I install this on? It doesn't matter. You can still probably run on 16 gigabytes of RAM. And I say this as somebody that prior to this PC, I was still rocking a 2080 Super chat that only had 12 gigs. So like you can absolutely still run things on that, but that generation is struggling. It's really beginning to like games are having to get run on low settings and medium settings at best. I'm on a 2070 Super and I'm upgrading to a 5080. Yep. Definitely understand that. I saw people, dude, so like when Wilds came out, I saw people complaining that their game couldn't, that their computer could not run Wilds. And not like, there were plenty of people that were having issues like I was, where it was like crashing, or they were getting like black screens and stuff like that. And like their rig was not the problem, right? But then there were people that are like, I can't run Wilds. And then they would like list their specs, and you're like, I mean, that's why right there, you're running a 1000 series graphics card. What part of that made you think it was going to be able to run Wilds? Do you know how old that card is? Like, that has not been the standard for 5 generations now. And like those 1000 series cards were great, but oh my god, no. Yeah, they're finally beginning to die. This 1070, yeah, it's like, look, don't get me wrong, it's like, it's fine, but I feel like if you're still using a 1000 series card, you don't get to complain about not being able to run the game anymore. Like, you don't get to complain about, like, why isn't the developer thinking of me and designing the game for me and optimizing the game for my card? They assume you don't have it anymore. That's why. So yes, that is why the games are not optimized for them. Definitely want to build a BC too. Thanks for the tips. Yeah. If you guys ever have questions, like, especially if it's general knowledge questions, I can answer them. I suck when it comes to individual, like, parts knowledge. You're lucky though, because I had to do a lot of research here recently for my build last year. So I'm still relatively on the up and up on things. The things that I don't know is I'm not familiar with how AMD video cards work. And I always get confused as to, like, what version of Intel chip we're on. Those old cards, you're expecting it to run at low settings, and if you're struggling, you need a new card. Yeah, exactly. Finally had to change it. Well, I've heard a lot of people say that they really messed up with the 10,000, or sorry, not 10,000, the with the 1000 series of cards, because apparently they made them just way too strong. Like, for their generation, they were extremely powerful and extremely well priced, so that when they tried to come out with some of these newer generations, the performance improvement was not significant, and as a result, due to the price that they were trying to charge, everybody just kept going back to the 1000 series cards. And so people just milked the 1000 series cards for years and years and years and years. And I think it was only really when they finally started to get into the 2000 Super Series that cards finally began to outpace the 1000 series cards. So that's not the initial run of the 2000 series. That's the follow-up run where they made them into super variants. And even then, from there, like, the 3000 series cards was not expressly better than the 2000 Super Series cards. Then the 4000 series cards came out, and they were better, but they were exorbitantly expensive. And then the 5000 series has come out now, and it is not expressly better than the 4000 series. So there's just a whole lot of, like, back and forth of, like, what the heck, man? Like how do we actually deal with this when the company is basically just farming us at this point? My 3080 Ti is 4.5 years old. I got a 3000 series card in my streaming rig, and it's doing fine. Like, but admittedly, I don't play video games on that. I just stream and model Aurelia on this machine. So the big thing that I did with this machine is, chat, you don't want to see how many programs this thing's running. Okay? Like, it is disgusting. In fact, let me go ahead and see what my CPU be clocking here. Yeah, we're at we're hovering around 85% on both CPU and memory usage. And that's pretty standard. And that's because, like, I'm literally sitting here with, like, 20 different programs open. So for reference, chat, I am running Dogecam. I am running Nightbot for the song request. Discord I obviously have open. My Steam is open because that's how Aurelia is running through as a program on that. I have my GoXLR, but that's honestly probably nothing. I have my actual chat bot that handles the integration for Aurelia, so there's a lot going on with that. I have a like subsidiary program to that's also running, and then I have Aurelia's actual modeling program, and all of that is not including my Chrome tabs and OBS, and OBS is a huge hog. So it's like running Ultra Skyrim mods. Yeah, you could say that. Sometimes it just be what it be. Dance a lot. Yep. And I knew it too. I knew that's what I was going to need the streaming computer to be capable of. So when I built this a couple of years back, I splurged on like the best processor I could get. And boy, did that pay off for me. And for the record, chat, I could also be running my VTuber software on that as well. Probably would need to close some Chrome tabs though. Honestly, though, I'm thinking about switching off of Chrome. And if anyone in chat can tell me, have any of you guys, if you've ever used, like, say, Opera GX, have you guys ever had issues on, like, Twitch with that? Because I've heard some people claim, especially on the streamer side, that it's not so good. I guess it, like, supposedly does stuff to the dashboard and everything. Use Brave. Yeah, I mean, to me, Brave is probably the other one I'm considering. It's like between Brave and Opera. I don't really care which one. I don't have a preference at this point. But I'll probably make the switch sometime after tax season because I'm sick and tired of Chrome, and their assault on ad blockers is pretty much like the last thing I want to deal with. Seems to be Firefox for non-Chromium, which I understand. And look, I'm not going to try to like upset any of you guys if you're a huge Firefox fan, but Firefox has put out some similar like vibes lately to Chrome, where they've said like, oh yeah, we're going to be getting rid of the ad blockers. We're going to be upgrading to Manifest 3 and all that stuff. And I'm like, nope, sorry, not doing it. Oh, fuck, did they? Yeah. So I was like, oh, that's not good either. Like, I understand why advertisers want to be able to play ads. However, I have learned, chat, you cannot trust advertisers at all. They are the epitome of, if you give them an inch, they will take a mile, right? Like, the second you're like, hey, advertiser, I don't have a huge problem with an ad playing every now and then, as long as you're not like overzealous with it and you don't constantly spam them. And then you're like, oh, of course we won't do that. Yeah, we would never. And then you turn ads on and it's like, okay, we're running an ad every 5 minutes. And it's a 2-minute ad. You're like, five-minute ads for Twitch? Yeah. Wait, are you actually getting 5-minute ads for me? Because, like, hold on. Welcome to the new ads manager. Oh, save time with our ad density slider. In other words, we've taken away your ability to customize this in any way. Oh, now I'm in control. I'll be able to see my estimated ad revenue. Goes to check. Estimated ad revenue. No estimate available. Thanks, Twitch. It's really cool. Like, oh my god. Oh my, okay, chat, full fucking disclosure right now. I'm gonna show you guys my ads revenue thing. Full fucking disclosure. So here's where my ads are set at 5 minutes per hour. So you guys shouldn't be getting 5-minute ad breaks because I think it does it once every like half hour. So you should be getting like 2.5-minute ad breaks at worst. Okay. Behold, if y'all don't think it can get worse. my God. 22 and a half minutes per hour. Y'all would live in ads. Like, that's worse than cable. Oh, it absolutely is. Cable, I believe cable's about, I think cable's about like 12 minutes per hour. So like the fact, and you can see, look at this. This is a freaking Mr. Beast slider right here, right? So it's like all of this is like low, and it's like you're at like 12 minutes, and it's like oh, and now suddenly we've spiked. Like this last little bit of the slider, we've gone up to 22 minutes because here was 12, here was 5. How did this go that high? 23-minute ads, I'm ready. I just like, this stuff is so stupid. Run 3 minutes of ads per hour to unblock 55% net ad revenue share. Run 3 minutes of ads of mid-roll ads per hour during your stream to fully disable pre-roll ads. Yeah. Estimated ad revenue based on selected ad minutes per hour. No estimate of AMP. Wait, what? Okay, no, I think chat, this is, don't assume that this is what's happening. It's not, because I think, yeah, I have it set to manual, but it's actually like down here in the advanced settings is what it is. So it's like this slider, like you can see it's grayed out. I can't even touch it. Twitch ads have the worst timing. The fact that you cannot easily play back what you missed. So I had a revolutionary idea, chat. So hear me out. Hear me out. Streamers and mods have the ability to delay ads for like, I think we can delay an ad up to 3 times for a maximum of like, I think you can only delay it up to like 6 minutes. Okay. So the ad will eventually run. Why do they make the streamers and the mods do that? Shouldn't delaying an ad be a user thing? Think about that. That way, if you want to get up and go to the bathroom, you let the ad run. That way, if, you know, oh man, you know, like my significant other or my mother or whoever like called me from the other room and I have to go, the ad just plays on its own. But then you delay it when, oh, Streamer Man's talking about something I'm interested in. You delay it when it's like, oh, Streamer Man's doing something really cool on stream right now. They'd make that a paid feature. You know what? You're right. You're right. Forget I said anything. You can't trust them. They absolutely would. I take back everything I said. That's a terrible idea. Nobody give that idea to Twitch. It'd be a tier 3 sub feature? No. Listen, it wouldn't be a sub feature. It would go under Twitch Turbo. Which, okay, so chat, I really want to say this because, again, like I told you guys, I've been doing a lot of reading on YouTube. YouTube bros, props to you. Here's why. Apparently, YouTube Premium gives all advertising revenue that you would have received if you didn't have Premium to the viewer, like to the videos that you watch. So it is the normal 70-30 split. Just boom. There you go. Gives it all to them. Twitch, on the other hand, tries to make the claim that if you pay for Turbo, you won't get ads on your favorite channels. And don't worry, streamers. We'll give you money from the Twitch Turbo. Chat, would you like to know how much money we get from Twitch Turbo? So I've already told you guys, like, ad revenue for me is way down right now. And my ad revenue is still 10 times the amount I'm getting paid from Twitch Turbo. 10 times. And it's way down. So normally that gap's way wider. Yeah, it's like we get jack shit from that. They tried to sell Twitch Turbo and make streamers think that this was some really good deal. It's like, don't worry, they're not subbing to you, but you'll still get something from the Twitch Turbo. No. Yeah, we get like 10 cents compared to, hey, you might be giving us like $2.50. 10 cents, $2.50. Which one's better? Of course, I would 10 times rather you sub to me than pay for Twitch Turbo, because Twitch Turbo is literally Twitch trying to steal money from the streamers. It's them saying, you can sub to the streamer to have ads removed from their stream, or you can sub to us and then you won't have ads anywhere on Twitch. And it's like, yeah, no, I can absolutely see why they're pushing that. They just want the money themselves, and they don't want that to be given to streamers. I know it's kind of hard to do on YouTube. It's not kind of hard to do. It's impossible to do on YouTube. Trust me, if I could play music on YouTube, I would. I will get absolutely DMCA'd and copy struck to all hell if I did. That one's a YouTube thing. Twitch lets you separate VOD soundtracks. YouTube does not. I don't sub to every channel, but I never see ads. I'm grateful, but why? Probably ad blocker. I think Kemba, if you're using Opera, I think Opera has a built-in ad blocker in it. Hence the reason. Hence the reason. You know what? Hold on. This one is an All Berserker and Archer node. Can I do a messed up thing here? Do I have a 60% C on JP? Hold on, Chad. I have to go check skill levels. Right, it's flat. All right, sweet. Okay, so there's really nothing I can do on that front. So then the same still applies. It's boom, 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 boom. And I can't unlock this portion of it for that. So because I can't get that, probably a normal K-scope is what I'm gonna do. Could be using Neoplug, so actually, let's see. Who do I need to bond? This is in P level. Bond level. We'll do Kashin. And Asterios. Okay. What the heck? That's a scene change. You're damn right it is. Don't forget about Arjuna Buffed, Cad. I did. I've already buffed Arjuna. This is just the Arjuna demonstration. So basically, chat, you guys can see that essentially I can start him out with a 60% CE. And then really I only need to take his mana loading up to I think it's like rank 5 will get you 15% in rounding. Because his middle skill is a flat 25%. So you're going to be able to get quite a bit of firepower there and kind of get the charge out of it that you need as well. So we've gone single Koyanskaya for the setup. And it's because with the new buff, even though I don't have the coins to be able to show you, we're just going to have to imagine it. You're going to be able to end up getting this third skill back again. So what we're going to do, we're going to start out by, I mean, I guess you could just go ahead and pop his first skill. It doesn't really matter for the circumstances here. We're going to pop his second skill. It's going to give us the charge per turn. That is going to matter for turn 2, but it's not really going to matter in the grand scheme of things too much otherwise. Then we're going to pop his third skill, and this buff has now happened. It has given him the 3-turn duration. We're going to go ahead and give him a singular buff right there from Koyanskaya. You can, if you feel like you're going to need to card or something like that, or like the enemies are humanoid in wave 1 or something, or maybe you just don't have a strong Arjuna like me here, you may just go ahead and pop that skill right there turn 1. Try to get the extra little firepower maybe there to allow Arjuna to be able to kind of pop off just ever so slightly more. And then as you guys can see, you're going to end up with him having that 10% charge. We're going to go ahead and pop Koyanskaya's final remaining skill on him here to get him up to 60%. And realistically, looking at this, my cooldowns aren't too great. If I had these skills leveled better, we would be basically 1 turn off here if we have the 5th append unlocked. So having the 5th append for him allows a singular Koyanskaya to allow him to double up. If you don't have enough coins to have both his mana loading and his 5th append, what that will mean is that you will either be starting out with something like, say, a K-scope or MLB imaginary element, something like that, or you will end up having to forego the 5th append and being able to double up the 3rd skill. The choice is yours. I recommend probably going for the 5th append more, because most people probably have a hard time finding a good 60% CE to amplify damage, and that's really the benefit that you have from getting mana loading, is being able to use this in conjunction with his middle skill to be able to start from this 60% point. So that's where a lot of firepower can come from. Now that we've used both the Koyanskayas, though, we're going to go ahead and rotate right through, and we're going to pop both Oberon NP damage skills. That's going to bring him up to full. And you can see we're primed here at this point to kind of be able to like handle just about everything going our way. Because, again, Arjuna is effective in this node that we're running, and we literally already have a guaranteeable 100% charge for turn 3 with both the Oberons. So wave 1 damage, pretty poor. Wave 2 damage gets a little bit better thanks to the Oberons, but it's still not going to be too great. So if you have a pretty strong middle like wave there in a given node, just be very, very careful for Arjuna at that point. So this is the point where, again, like I said, if I had the skill leveled up more, if I had the 5th append, I would be able to pop this skill again. Unfortunately, for better or worse, Arjuna's charge skill does not allow him to double pop it. It is an 8-turn cooldown. So even with a bunch of shenanigans like Koyanskaya's and the 5th append, you're not going to be able to get to it conveniently without, something else getting added into the mix. So that is kind of the biggest issue that he has. He can't be used in a double Koyanskaya setup if you want a 3-turn with him. But the good news is you can now double up the steroid regardless if you do have enough coins for that 5th append. So that is what this buff really impacts for him. I'm going to go ahead and pop the Mystic Code here, fire off the NP, and he should easily handle this. And there you go. Simple but effective 3-turn. Very nice to have that. Like I said, he's in a much better state due to this buff. So it's really, really nice that he has this on everything else. Okay, chat. And that was on purpose, by the way. I know some people were like, oh my god, Cad's gone. He doesn't realize. I realized. I did that on purpose. Ford recalled several hundred vehicles, so apparently driving forwards despite being in reverse. What? That's weird. I have never heard of Defenders of the Earth. Is this just like? Is this just like discount Marvel and DC? You haven't? No, I've never heard of it. Okay, chat. So now some of you guys are probably like, what the heck, Cad? What is Arjuna's buff even? And I'm so glad you asked, Diligent Chatter. Okay. Have you ever watched Galaxy Rangers? I don't think I have, but I feel like I've at least heard of that one. At least from what I remember. Hold on, there's one other thing I have to do. This is at the request of Okayist. Well, hold on. Can I cheat? This might be really bad here. Okay, it's not the worst, but I don't know that that's going to help because there's a different gradient on this. That's not black at all. Dude, the internet is so cancerous now for images. Now there's all these like licensable images, and I'm like, I just want a black background. And like, hey, here's a licensable, royalty-free black background. And I'm like, it's a fucking color. Like, Why is that even a thing? I'm gonna go make one myself right now. So stupid. That's literally what I'm doing, basically. Is that... Why is that not doing anything? Oh, come on. It's too much for my computer to handle. That simple. Like, that was... so stupid. Okay, sorry about this, chat. I know nobody wanted this kind of delay. There, now I don't exist. Oh no. Okay, so Chaos, do you prefer that? Or do you prefer this? You let me know. Black one? Okay. Do you want it bigger or is this size appropriate? That works? Okay. CAD pops out. Yes, now I look like actually crazy. Actually, let me see here real quick. Okay, they're pretty much one-to-one overlap. There's a little bit of an edge. Slight edge. It's so minuscule, it's not noticeable. Professional streamer, yes. I mean, I don't know if this is very professional, but it is what it is. Honest to God, I think I need to like improve my camera because like, look at this. Look how jank this looks, right? Like, this camera fucking sucks. but buying a new camera is expensive AF. Okay. The blur, yeah, it happens. Okay, what were we doing? Anyways, so chat, I hope you guys have had your fill of curry, because we are at the point now where Arjuna has gotten yet another upgrade. And this upgrade is to his third skill. He has had every single skill and his NP already upgraded, and this is now the final one. Now, the good news is this upgrade is not that big of a deal. It doesn't actually change that much for him, in the sense that Arjuna's biggest issue is his lack of ability to be able to be used in a double Koinskaya setup. He doesn't really have that capability because of the way his second skill works. It has a very long cooldown, and even the fifth append can't save him in that regard. So if they ever upgrade a second time for any of the skills, that's what they need to focus on, is basically going to be his second skill and trying to make that less clunky. That being said, Arjuna Alter, or sorry, I keep calling him an Arjuna Alter. Arjuna is a very, very good unit for challenge content. And so I think that's kind of going to be his sort of like dominant niche still at this point. But what they have improved here is sort of his staying power with regards to his damage output on this third skill. Roar of the Flame God EX here increases his own arts performance and buster performance for 3 turns. Again, the arts performance up is a new effect, and all of this has been extended for a 3-turn duration, including the NP damage as well. So this does give him the sort of staying power. It'll now apply to all 3 turns, and therefore, if you're using him for conventional farming purposes, he's going to be stronger. But also in the sense of, if you're using him in a challenge fight that's going to last longer, his steroids will have more uptime. So it's definitely a good idea in that regard. As for why the arts performance, Arjuna Alter does actually have a triple arts deck here that does have a 3-hit count effect on it. So it is still a fairly solid, if you ask me, sort of like buff for him. It's just going to make his steroid actually apply to his deck, as opposed to it just being applicable to the singular buster card that he has. I think this is sort of one of those age-old designs where back in year 1 they were given units 3 arts cards in their deck, and I've seen a lot of people say like that, oh, they don't think this is that good, but this actually is still really, really strong in a more elongated challenge environment where you're going to end up having to use the cards. This is a ton of arts cards for him to be able to generate Noble Phantasm. He does have that 25% charge. He does have that 10% charge per turn. So he's going to be just a machine at getting back to his Noble Phantasm. And this buff will certainly help the performance of those arts cards that maybe weren't necessarily the best with his raw NP gain. So this is certainly a welcome addition for him. And again, I think the biggest change that this is going to make is actually going to come in the form of how it works within the 5th append. You see, before the upgrade with his just original mana burst there, everything was a 1-turn duration on a 5-turn cooldown. Well, with the 5th append being in the game now on JP, you can lower that 5-turn cooldown to a 4-turn cooldown, which means a single Koinskaya can allow the skill to be popped on turn 1 and turn 3. The deal is there was no real benefit to that because it was just the singular turn duration for the effect of the skill. Now with the upgrade, with everything being 3-turn durations, you can pop it on turn 1 and it will still be in effect on turn 3 when you pop it again. So even though he can't use a double Koinskaya setup, he can still double up this skill if you have the coins, making it a lot better for him. So this is going to, in a roundabout way, increase his overall damage output. Obviously under idyllic circumstances, but outside of that, if you don't maybe have the coins, you don't have the copies of him, yeah, being able to have enough to have both appends unlocked, both the mana loading and the 5th append, is going to be a little bit spicy. At this point, though, I do recommend Arjuna being a unit that you unlock the 5th append on over the mana loading because of this, though, just so that he has the ability to double up. Again, like I said, the mana loading append is nice, but it doesn't even have to be maxed in his case due to the 25% charge. And at best, you're looking at starting him from a 60% starting charge standpoint with a craft essence. So if you don't have a really good CE to amplify Arjuna's damage at 60%, then it's okay to run him with something like a K-Scope or an MLB Imaginary Element to get the job done. Either way, I do think this one is pretty nice. Taking a look now, just to kind of see at his numbers here, he does end up getting, not too crazy of a boost here, but having that capacity to be able to double up will show itself more in the actual composition numbers that we show here in a little bit. So these numbers didn't change at all. This is basically just going to be his raw numbers with his self buffs only. And again, the steroids did not increase in amount, they just increased in turn duration. So this is pretty much to be expected here with him kind of capping out at 41k at MP5. But for most of y'all, you're probably rocking just an MP1 or an MP2 at like 27k or 34k neutral damage. Taking a look at his charge scenario here, like we already mentioned, Arjuna is going to be somebody that is going to kind of work with a double Oberon type of setup. You want the Koinskaya in the front line to begin with so that you can rotate her out, and that way you get to start at least with her buffs up and active in turn one. But essentially, the way he can work is he can start from a 60% CE, have his append at, again, like I said, like level 5 in order to get the 15% charge, and then use his 25% self-charge to give him that 10% charge per turn after the fact, as well as get him to 100% turn 1 there. Basically, looking at wave 2 then, after he's fired off that first NP, he will have that 10% regen coming off the back end of his main skill there, his charge skill there, and he will be able to double up both the Oberon 20%, but only after you've used Koinskaya's own 50% charge. Her charge should bring him up to 60. The double Oberon 20% charges should bring him to 100. He'll fire off the NP the second time there, get another 10% of regen, but this time it doesn't matter since in turn 3, we're just going to be using both of Oberon's second and third skills there to bring him up to 100% charge and have him fire off the NP one more time. Taking a look now at his overall, again, like numbers in an actual composition, this is where things have kind of changed. So you can see his old numbers down here on the bottom there, where he had about 46k at NP1 on wave 1, 51k neutral on NP1 wave 2. But again, like I said, these are numbers now with an actual composition. So this is Koinskaya and Oberon in here, and basically the best possible craft essence for him, or rather a more reasonable one for him here being Summer Anniversary craft essence there, as that would be at least a 60% starting charge one for him. And so then by wave 3, you get the double Oberon pops there, bringing him up to 210k. Still not too great. So what's the effect of this skill and being able to double up with it now having multi-turn durations? That's going to be these top numbers. So 46k still turn 1 because there's no difference there. But already by wave 2, we see a huge difference with it being 68k. So he's gained about, I'd say roughly like 16, 17k there in terms of numbers. And by wave 3, we spike up to 262k. So definitely a lot better, a lot more manageable for him. These are still not like world-beating numbers. These are still not better than Ishtar or better than Gilgamesh or anything like that. But these are still much more serviceable numbers, and especially given the fact that the devs don't seem to want to bring Arjuna into kind of that sort of sameness with the other archers. Instead, it looks like they're trying to kind of leave him his own unique sort of style and niche. And like I said, I think that niche ascribes a lot more towards challenge content. So that to me is what the developers are really wanting to do. And to me, it seems pretty obvious that that's how they're going to keep him. So what do you guys think about the Arjuna buff? And what would you guys like to see change about him, if anything? I'll be curious to hear you guys' thoughts. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys for the next one. Yeah, I did not record that. Crap. Fine. I assume OKS can get that out of the VOD for me. But I stumbled a lot on that one. I don't know why. That one, like, I keep wanting to call him Arjuna Alter, and it's just not good. I will highlight it. Yeah, do me a favor, and every time I say Arjuna Alter, get rid of the alter if you can. I also gave you the demonstration there beforehand, so that'd be a little bit better for you. I already have them on mana loading. Oh, so that's fine because you can actually switch your append now on JP. It's a really, really useful feature. I don't know why I keep getting that update. So many God Juna mentions. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know why. You say, Pashupata. There you go. I got you. OG Arjuna. Arjuna. There you go. I gave you the sound bites for both of those. All right, chat. Let's talk strengthenings now. Because this is the thing. Like, we've now gotten Servant Strengthening Quest Part 18. Now, as chat has said, this is a long time since our last one. Obviously, we got one at anniversary of the prior year. We basically get one every anniversary. So you can see part 17 there was literally 9th anniversary. And then part 16 was 8th anniversary. Part 15 was 7th anniversary. And part 14 was 6th anniversary. So we have, for the past 4 anniversaries, pretty much gotten just strengthening quests. That's it. You have to go all the way back to April of 2021 for us to have a non-anniversary related strengthening quest campaign with, again, part 13 here. So it's been a hot second. And it's definitely nice. Now we have all of the strengthenings half cost. It's been a long time since we've had that. It's been 4 years since we've had a non-anniversary related one. And this first group here has, again, an interesting thing because we already get a buff to Arjuna. And Arjuna is definitely a unit that needs that upgrade. Talked a lot about that already in the other video. And I do think that it's an interesting one for him that still sort of preserves what he is as a unit and his identity and doesn't just homogenize him with every other archer out there. I do like this buff. I don't think it's necessarily a terribly strong one. I think they could have enhanced his damage output, but he is really, really good in a challenge environment. And I think this buff kind of just leans into that while still making him fairly good for farming. That being said, we have a number of buffs upcoming here. So just kind of showing you guys can see the first one was the 5-star archer there. We are going to get a buff each day, concluding on April 1st, which is hilarious that that is going to basically end up being April Fool's. But the way to look at this is we have 2 4-star assassins, a 5-star berserker, a 3-star rider, a 4-star rider, and a 5-star lancer. So there is a lot here to digest. There's a lot we could still kind of talk about. I do think it's rather interesting in that regard. But I do think there's also just some possibilities for like who could and couldn't get these. Now, when it comes to the 4-star assassins, there's a lot of units out there that could need love. 4-star assassins have frankly been neglected to a large degree. We have seen units like Wu get the buff over and over and over and over and over again to the point where Wu can actually deal more damage than some of the 5-stars now. I think it's like it's okay for Wu to be strong, but the sheer amount of attention that Wu has gotten to the expense of like some of the other ones is kind of ridiculous. Mr. Fister has also gotten a ton of buffs over the years, so that's basically just probably not going to happen again for him, if you ask me. I think this could be a time period where you could see units like Kiritsugu get an upgrade, units like Kato Danzo get an upgrade, units like Consort Yu, or possibly even Satheno. Now, there's even some outward cases out there for this being something like, say, an Okita assassin buff, where even though her damage output is quite nice, even though she is capable of like looping and stuff now, she still has a lot of demerits in the kit that the developers could maybe just choose to give her kind of a fix for. So there's no real telling what these upgrades could be. They could be something in the way of obviously an NP interlude to really help out a unit's overall performance, or it could be something a little bit more designed at fixing a problem that the unit has in their kit. So I think there's a lot of ideas for who these 4-star assassins could be, and the fact that there are 2 of them kind of leaves the door open for there being a lot. I will caution you guys against trying to like form patterns here and assume that everything is going to be a pattern. We've seen people try to do this with strengthenings before, particularly at Anniversary. There is not always a pattern. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. Sometimes the devs just kind of do what they want to do. And so I wouldn't necessarily guarantee that something like that is going to happen. Now, with regards to things like, say, the 5-star Berserker, there's also a couple of possibilities out there that I think people would really like to see. One of them is naturally going to be someone like Xiang Yu, that just really has flown under the radar for a long time. Xiang Yu is not really in a good state compared to some of his other contemporaries. The developers have leaned really hard into crit damage for him, and it hasn't really helped him out too much because his ability to be used on a turn-to-turn basis is rather anemic. He doesn't really have good refund. He doesn't really have charge. So he's not in a solid spot. And the only real claim to fame that he has is Invuln Pierce, since he doesn't even have a niche. So I do think there's a lot of potential here for him. And especially, you know, not to get too much into patterns, but especially if, say, the prior assassin ends up being Consort Yu, then having Consort Yu into Xiang Yu makes a lot of sense. But who knows, right? That could just be, you know, grasping at straws and maybe just wishful thinking. But I do think he is a unit that could definitely use the attention at this point in time. There's also units out there like, say, Nightingale that are kind of perennially on the shit list for people. It's not that Nightingale is unusable by any stretch of the imagination. It's just that I feel like a lot of people kind of prioritize other options. If you're looking for, say, just like a Buster Buffer, you've got units out there like Merlin or Koinskaya of Dark that can kind of handle a lot of stuff for you and still manage to charge the party. If you're looking for somebody that's maybe trying to reduce the overall damage output of an enemy, obviously you can do that with Nightingale, but there are other ways to just outright prevent damage, a la Castoria and like Joan of Arc and other stuff. So I don't necessarily feel like she's the best fit there nowadays. And then you still manage to have other things like, I'm going to say, like kind of like debuff immunity and such that other units can provide for the party or for a like select person. I also think the fact that Nightingale is a Berserker and a rather squishy one at that does not help things out too much, and she doesn't have any hard defense herself. So one of the ways that they could improve her would be to give her some sort of hard survivability on her own end. That might make her a little bit of a monster for doing things like solos and stuff, though. So we just have to see what the developers would think with regards to that. I do think there's a couple other possibilities here as well, including maybe some of the single target berserkers, as well as, maybe even the occasional odd AoE that we may not have talked about. It's certainly possible that other units could end up getting an upgrade, even something as crazy as like Arjuna Alter, who to me definitely doesn't need the damage output, but there's no telling really what the devs do here and what they're thinking of. It may just come down to these all being units that really need the upgrade, or the devs may just be kind of sprinkling in upgrades to other units that don't fit into the current events that are going to be coming out this year. So I think the latter is probably more likely. As much as I would like to assume that these are all going to be units that really need it, you may see some units in here that are maybe head scratchers and not necessarily as like obvious as some of the others, where you go like, well, they didn't really need the buff. Why did they get it? Your 5-star berserker may be the epitome of just that. So we'll have to see what they kind of do in that regard. Now, with regards to your 3-star rider, there's really only a couple of possibilities here. I think Ushi at this point is kind of odd man out. Ushi has received a ton of buffs, so I don't see her really getting the attention here. You could as well see maybe something for like Boudica yet again, but she's also another unit that's received a ton of buffs over time, so I don't really see her being the one to kind of get this. And even when you look at someone like, say, Medusa has gotten some love here more recently, so it is certainly possible that she could get it again. I don't think it's that crazy, but the 3-star rider one to me, by far, is going to be Red Hair. Red Hair, even after his buff, is still just in a extremely poor state. I think it's going to be him. We'll see if it's someone else. It could certainly be someone like Alexander, who's received some over time, or maybe even a rare one like Columbus. But I do feel like Red Hair is kind of the sore thumb that just keeps kind of sticking them, because I think a lot of people don't really want to use him due to the way that he works. He's just an all-around unimpressive unit, so they really need to kind of do something for my boy. But at the end of the day, I could see them kind of sprinkling this one around on another unit that maybe has already received more upgrades, so we'll just have to see what the 3-star rider one holds. 4-star rider, on the other hand, there is a ton of options here, and to me there's not necessarily one that just absolutely sticks out. I do think there's potential here. You could maybe see a much newer unit like Wang Fei Hu get something. He has been kind of a nothing burger ever since he came out. He's not bad per se, but he's just really got no real claim to fame, no real reason to kind of use him. So I think he's going to be one of those where he has a really decent shot if they're just approaching this from a unit that needs it approach. But at the end of the day, I could easily see it being something even as ludicrous as a buff to Surf Mo. So I think this one is probably the most wide open out of all the buffs on this list that they could easily do. I think there's many possibilities for units to kind of receive some love here, particularly if they're looking to kind of keep some of the units in pace and kind of ahead of some of the 3-star competition there. So depending on who gets the buff for the 3-star version, you might see that actually impact who gets the buff for the 4-star version as well. But who knows at this point? I could easily see a lot of candidates. Martha would be another really decent one. Maybe even Marie Ryder at this point. But I think this one really just kind of a toss-up for who gets it. And then that brings us to, last but not least, I think one that's going to be pretty hotly contested within the community, and that's the 5-star Lancer. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and make my case right here for my obvious biased pick, and that is going to be for Lartoria, aka 5-star Lancer Artoria. Lancer Artoria is a unit that kind of, when some of the other Lancers were getting upgrades, she did get an upgrade herself, but she kind of got passed over. She only got a skill upgrade. She didn't get a Noble Phantasm upgrade. And in that regard, she kind of got done dirty, because while that upgrade itself was pretty decent, not getting that Noble Phantasm interlude has really held her back now. She's one of the lowest damaging AoE Lancers at this point, and it kind of shows. As somebody that has used her both at NP1 and obviously NP5, I really love the unit, frankly, but I can tell you NP1 absolutely does not cut it for this unit anymore. And other units that also used to be pretty low on the spectrum, like Arash Kagal, have gotten a ton of love and appreciation now. So I think it's really time for them to kind of start bringing up the back of the pack and trying to make other units more competitive with Melisson, who's still just kind of stomping all the competition. And it's actually not that hard for them to do, to bring Lartoria back online, give her an NP interlude, and really just kind of maybe either give her an overcharge or impact her amount of charge. That would allow her to touch Black Grail, and that would dramatically, between those two things, improve her damage output. But that may be wishful thinking on my part, so just kind of shelving that for right now and looking at some of the other possibilities here. I think Vitra is another really strong possibility. She's a unit that really damage output's kind of gotten left behind on. She is an arts looper though, so it's a little bit more okay for her. It's always kind of been understood that the loopers are a little bit less on damage in certain ways due to their ability to kind of stay. And Vitra does still have the niche of being able to provide anti-divine to the party, which is a really, really nice one in that. But outside of kind of her loopability and her anti-divine, she is really in a bad spot. She's kind of been surpassed by almost all of her competition, and at this point really could just use some kind of attention to help kind of improve her overall performance. So we'll just have to see if she ends up being a pick. And then obviously, I think another really, really strong one, if we're going to talk about the potential to get like a Noble Phantasm interlude, is going to be Tamamo Lancer. Tamamo Lancer, still a year one unit, absolutely a unit that people love, but she has really gotten done dirty over the years. They finally fixed her third skill and made her more applicable in the modern Klinskaya setups due to her having charge now, and that really did help her out. But she still needs that Noble Phantasm interlude, and without that, she is going to sadly fall behind her competition, especially welfare competition, with Consort U Lancer also being anti-man niche and out damaging her. So it's really not looking good for her at this point in time. They certainly could give her a Noble Phantasm interlude, and I think each one of those three has a really strong case to make. Lartoria, Vitra, or again, Tamamo Lancer. But who knows? They may end up doing something completely out of left field. We may see a buff to Roma. We may see a buff to one of the other quick Lancers. It really just depends what the devs are looking for and what their goals are with this campaign. So, what do you guys think about these options? Is there anyone that I missed? Anyone that I didn't talk about that you guys think could really use the buff? Who would you like to see buffed? I'll be curious to hear you guys' thoughts, and thank you guys again for watching. I will see you guys for the next one later. And that's a wrap. 2 videos, 1 night. 12 months old now. Yes. Yes. You are precisely 1. Thank you for the resub type. Appreciate it. Cranking them out. I got SSR servants spooked their way to NP 6 and 7. And their servants spook me once and never again. Anyone there have the same problem? Not really. My money's on Bren. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't see any, and I don't want to say this to like screw you guys, right? Their take would have to be, we're just gonna buff a unit that we can't get into any of the other campaigns. That's the only way I can see them buffing Bren, because Bren has no leg to stand on really in comparison to someone like Tamamo Lancer. When do you think we are getting spring campaign and our set of questionnaires in NA? That's a good question. I don't know. Like, I will certainly love it if they give us a survey at this point in time, because JP's in a really weird spot. So I do think there's a lot that they can kind of do in that regard as to, like, you know, what do we what do we want to see? What do we want out of the game? That sort of stuff. Young Yu's never shown up after he spooked me again. Yeah. Carmilla Assassin needs a buff bad. I wouldn't say it's that bad. Imagine a buff on Mary Anning for the lulls. I mean, Mary Anning is Mary Anning or Ann and Mary, or Anne Bonny and Mary Reed, yeah. The Lancer, okay. I was gonna say. I mean, honestly, that Mary Anning's actually really good for a 1-star Lancer. She is a very fluid looper, and that's like surprising. Normally, when you get a 1-star, that's where they gimp them, is on their capacity to actually like pump out stuff. It was a set of questionnaire that chose the rerun, right? Or was it the next? I don't remember. I think it's the next one. I don't think we got to choose it here. He's dating in a decent number of time attack runs. The buff she provides and the ease of getting rid of her is just really nice. Damn, why you gotta say it that way? The ease of getting rid of her. Just thinking here. So tomorrow we have the live stream. Friday we have Draco rolls. Draco rolls are gonna take the entire time. So we can probably fit in the we could probably fit in the Ordeal Call stuff for Ordeal Call 3 tomorrow. And that way I don't double it up on all of this and overwhelm Okeus with all the amount of things he has to highlight and do. Tomorrow is a 4-star assassin buff, yeah. Am I gonna MP5 Draco? Of course. Who do you think I am, chat? And it's gonna be painful. I can feel it. We got lucky on Tiamat, so yeah, I gotta order me some Italian tomorrow. I think I'm gonna just do roll-alongs for Draco. Trying to steal my Draco, is that what this is? I'm calling it less than 500 quartz for NP5. Please be right. Please. I pray for times like that. How are you not homeless? I don't know. like when it comes to how my rolls have been this year, I don't know. I'm trying to resist getting Madoka and Exedra? Draco doesn't scare me. Oh. What kind of buff do you think they would give Lancer Archery? I'm thinking either an MP upgrade or fix the skill to make effects 3 turns. Fix the skill to make effects 3 turns. Yeah, I like... The thing is, they could fix that skill, right? It would help. I would still kind of be disappointed if it's not an NP interlude. Like, NP interludes offer an unparalleled amount of increase to a unit's damage output. So to me, that is just absolutely what she needs. Even if she doesn't get the ability to touch something like Black Grail, that NP interlude is going to be what actually carries her. So it's like, if we want to talk about her getting like overcharge, for instance, I can do that with a skill. Like if we want to get her overcharge, we can do that in some other way. But holy crap, we've got to get her that NP interlude. It's getting bad. How was my day? My day was pretty good. Honestly, today was pretty solid. Like, because I woke up and I saw there was a strengthening campaign, and I was like, huh? Like, have you guys ever seen the meme of like I think it is the streamer Limey or whatever, where like he wakes up and he's like, that was me when I opened my phone this morning. I was like, strengthening. NP interlude to put Lartoria over Lalter and on par with Super Roma, right? I don't think it'd quite put her on par with Super Roma. I'd have to double check. Like, she probably would be if she had her niches in play, but I think like base, I don't think she would be still. Sorry, scratching my leg. But like, as for the problem that I've had is like, can I solve both these issues? Can I get Lartoria to Black Grail, and can I give her an NP interlude at the same time? And the issue that I've had is like, if you go look at Lartoria, that's not going to work. Of course, that's not. It's pretty bad that I know the exact syntax at this point. So if you go look at her, right? Like, obviously one turn duration's kind of bad. That is a major issue for units at this point. We're in this era of like, it's no longer about charge and like having 50% charge. It's now about like, do you have 1 turn or 3 turn steroids? And if you have 3 turn steroids, you're pretty good. If you have 1 turn steroids, you're kind of in a weird spot because you have spike damage, but you don't have good 3 turn damage. And that hurts them now in terms of 90++ node structure and them doing all sorts of funky things with it, including shifting around where the actual high health enemy is. So when you look at something like this, it's simplistic, it's easy, it's good. But this is weird because this doesn't work well in the Koyanskaya system. So to me, the only way that I can think of to do this, and hear me out, chat, hear me out, is you give her a standard NP interlude, but you also increase the overcharge effect, and you basically make this, that, this, that, this, that, and then this, that. And then I guess it goes to like 70%? I don't know. The only other way I can think of to do it would be to add a like 1 rank over 3 turns overcharge to her. And I'm like, you can do that, but the problem is that fires off every NP. So at that point, you may as well just increase the overcharge effect. But if you can do both these things, then she gets an NP interlude. This becomes that. This becomes that. And it gets stronger. This improves, and it allows her to touch Black Grail. So that accomplishes both those objectives. And if both those are true, I'm a happy camper. A much happy camper. Fionn shuddering with 30% mana burst. Theon is shuddering because of Percival. And which is funny because who Theon's not shuddering because is Melt Lancer. Which is sad, but true. Want Mordred to get an overcharge buff to her skill 3. So bad, but I'm biased. Like OG Mordred to get an overcharge buff? I mean, it would certainly help out her capacity to charge, but it like that's the same issue that like Artoria has as well. I don't see them giving Artoria and Mordred the ability to touch Black Grail. But if they do, I would certainly be okay with it. Yeah, I think like that is just the issue that she has at this point. And without these, she's the lowest of the Buster Lancers. She is down there pretty much like assuming her niches aren't in play. Like I've seen a lot of people be like, oh, but this skill, this is why Lartoria doesn't need an upgrade. And I'm like, this skill is good. I like this skill. But this skill is also extremely limiting. And it just kind of naturally becomes a problem. So I really don't know what to say in that regard. Other than I guess the 5th append allows me to make this 4 turns, allows me to go with the single coin sky setup in order to be able to double up all this stuff, and then allows me to kind of kick everything to being able to do like double Oberon. There's a problem with that. The charisma is also 5 turns, but this one isn't. You don't get to double this up, and this actively does prevent her from working that way. My MP5 spooked Artoria would appreciate Black Girl. Yeah. What does surf mode need at this point? All the damage. So there's a problem though, because like, so kind of, you guys remember me talking about Vitra, right? And I said, Vitra, like she sits there and she doesn't necessarily have high damage because she's a looper. And you're probably thinking like, well, why does that matter? Pull it back some. Okay. Are your lower star variants also that same way? And the answer is yes. Where this doesn't apply now is because the idea used to be that Buster was power, but not the ability to refund. Arts and Quick, on the other hand, were less in terms of power, but did have the ability to refund. Okay? So this was a really, really nice thing for them. So therefore, that's what kind of balanced this arrangement. Now, for everything 4-star and lower, this still holds true. For 5 stars, though, that naturally seem to tap into the Koyanskaya system, they now have this capacity to be able to like 3-turn and keep doing it. So this threw off the balance a little bit and made this all like muddy and confusing, right? But the answer there is that it still kind of does apply. So if you pull that back and you look at like Surfmo, for instance, in the Riders, if you buff Surfmo's damage, what happens to the likes of Da Vinci? What happens to the likes of Odysseus? What happens to the likes of really any of these looper riders when the 4-star suddenly begins to deal a lot more damage and outpace them? Now, we can point to examples where this has already happened in the game. Salter. Salter is a 4-star that is absolutely obliterating the 5 stars. Should it be that way? Look, chat, I love Salter, but no, it should not. Like, quite literally, they should have a scenario where these other 5 stars are outpacing her. And yes, I agree with you. I think Habitrot is the sort of like nail in the coffin, so to speak. So you end up with a really weird issue where some of them are they're kind of hamstrung because the units that are over the top of them, but other units seem to not be affected by the same hamstringing. So what do you do then? Well, the answer to this is you buff all of them. All of the ones that need it. So it's like, who doesn't need a buff in the Surfmo scenario? Habitrot doesn't. So you buff Surfmo, and if Surfmo starts to challenge any of the 5 stars, you buff the 5 stars. That sounds great. That sounds idyllic, but let's be honest, they just don't freaking buff often enough for that to be the case. So this just is a natural issue that the game has. And most of it is on the developers to buff more. This is no easy way to say it other than that. I think they can buff Surfmo without surpassing the 5 stars. They can't. Because Surfmo and Da Vinci are actually pretty neck and neck already. Like the second you give Surfmo any damage, she's gonna pass Da Vinci. $60 Sancorts for NP2 will require payback. Oh, don't worry, it'll happen eventually. I do feel like they've done better this year than last, at least. I mean, I don't know if Avalon's still hanging around, but Avalon, you got the count so far this year compared to last year. Because basically last year they were also good, but they were good on the back end of last season or last year, rather than this year where it's like, okay, we're starting out like kind of strong from the get-go. That being said, we started out strong, then we cooled off a little bit. So, like, don't get me wrong, strengthening campaign helps that, but you do sit there and you do begin to, like, kind of head scratch and go, like, what's going on here? What are they doing? I'll be honest with you too, chat. Given what we know about our deal call 4, you know it's ruler-based. I'm really surprised none of these are rulers. I'm really surprised. Ruler Zeus incoming? Doubtful. We're at 19 upgrades now. Last year I had like 10 upgrades around that time. How many in total did we have for last year, though? It was like 50. $19 includes the upcoming ones here. Yeah. Maybe we get a 3-star ruler? That'd be great. I would love that. Last year had 63 upgrades in total. Okay. So we are at the end of the 3rd month with 19 upgrades. So we're still on pace to beat last year. I wish FGO would implement better resource acquisition. I'm always empty on silver monuments. So Skull Kid, do you ever get the monuments out of a like event shop? Do you ever run training grounds either? Always clear shops? Okay. Ten times, never the ones I need. Yeah, that happens. Like, you just get mismatches because usually the ones that you see in an event are for the new units. And if you're just trying to collect them for units you already have, obviously it's not going to line up. Always need sabers and casters. Casters will forever be a thorn in your side. Well, I say forever. You can get beyond it, but... And he'll give us most likely the usual 14-2. Yeah. The free AP goes to QP because I'm also broke, so it's tough to determine what to farm on that day. I feel you. So this is gonna sound really weird. Are you caught up on Story Skull? Yes? Okay. So when Ordeal Call comes out and we get the Bleached Earth quests, one of the very first batch of ones is the QP node. Highly recommend doing that for your 3 runs of your storm pods a day. What's that? Will it show me here? I just have the Olga quest in here. Go to the top. Was it? There's a free quest tab there. Am I blind? Right here. Is it United States? Yeah, here you go. This is Vegas, chat. This is as good as running Treasure Vault. So if you guys take your craft essences in and do that, it's nice. I mean, HP values are a little spicy, but welcome to Bleached Earth. Oh yeah. Yeah, this 500k Lancer is spicy boy. This is after the lotto? Yeah. Yeah, we have Lilum Harlot, Lotto, OC4. OC1. I don't know why I said 4. Sorry, brain on JP. I'm gonna do the Dragon Scale Bleached Earth quest. Not on an A, you're not. That doesn't come out for a long time. I'll be on the shells. I'm trying to remember what batch we get with the first one. Because the other good one is the Hawaii one. And this is why I told you guys, like, shells become kind of dead. I don't even remember the second one. Yeah. South Oceania here is the Dragon Reverse Scales one. This one's really recent on JP though, chat. So like you've got like at least a year and a half till you get this. And it's the reason why is this is one of the new 90 star nodes. So it has the 5 times for class advantage. Shells is not dead. I was gonna say, do I also need to mention the fact that at the end of the year we have a shell lotto? I'm just saying, like, and oh no, if I ever got low ever again, I could just go back into Ordeal Call and farm that because I have a guaranteed 3 storm pods every day. So, how many boxes did I do in the lotto to get that amount? He was already doing 500 at that point on JP. I think so. The thing you guys got to understand, when the shell node came out and then later the shell lotto, I was working, like on my JP account, I was working from a shell deficit. Shells were one of my worst materials. So I got all of that taken care of and still managed to stockpile 1,500. Like, chat, this is after, like, Ordeal Call 3. Like, this is literally after all of, like, the summer events and everything. And I'm still sitting on 1,500. Like, almost 2 years removed from the shell lotto. But yeah, that's all I'm trying to say. Like, this, absolutely, you can kill shells on JP now. Like, the idea, the concept here, chat, is any material that enters the Bleached Earth quests becomes dead very quickly. And the reason why, because what happens, you get the Bleached Earth quests in batches over time. So like that first batch, there are like literally 2 good nodes to do. The QP node, if you need QP, and the shell node. That's it. You want to do something else? Too bad. Sucks. So you get to pick your poison. What if we could burn materials for pure prisms, but at a medium-high ratio? What do you mean? Are you saying burning, like, ascension mats to turn back into pure prisms, which I would use to buy more ascension mats? Like my stakes? 50 stakes for 1 pure prism? I wouldn't do it. So, the reason for that is because pure prisms are limited anyways. You can get 100 of any material. And there are now tickets where you can refresh that one time. So you can use that to get another 100. So the maximum you can get of any material now is 200 from pure prisms. And by the way, chat, I don't know if you saw that. Behold, they have only ever given out 3 of these ever. You can only do that for 3 materials. Can Salter do the dragon scale node? Probably. Salter is the highest damaging of all the the sabers. So, how I've managed to do it is with my Yamato Takeru. I deal with the new materials first before OC nodes. But what does that even mean? Because, like, you're literally going to get 3 storm pods a day. If you don't do the OC nodes, you just waste those storm pods. You will never get them back. I definitely would not waste them. Like, it's okay to balance them, but don't waste them. Because I Chat, I can't emphasize to you guys enough. Like, these nodes are the singular most efficient nodes in the entire game. There is nothing more efficient than them for farming purposes. I've been wasting them on JP. That is your loss. I wouldn't waste them. How much QP per run in the QP node? Like I said, it's pretty comparable to Treasure Vault. Yeah, they use AP. So they use 40 AP per run. And it costs 1 storm pod. It's literally both of these right here. And what happens is later on, they start to go, oh, if there is an active event in the game at the moment, then we will make it only cost 20 AP per run. And then after that, after enough complaining, they said, you know what? You can just turn your storm pod on for any 3 runs you want. So you don't even have to spend the AP on storm pods if you don't want to. Which is frankly what a lot of us have started to do because we are lazy. And that was, for the record, that was one of the biggest complaints about storm pods, was that you get 3 storm pods a day. The storm pod nodes cost 40 AP. So out of the, like, what, chat, how much do you get per day? Is it like 260 AP per day? Like for like every second of every minute, blah, blah, blah. Out of the like 260 you get per day, 120 of that was claimed automatically by storm pods every single day. So it was frankly a really stupid and poorly designed system. 288, there you go. So it's like quite literally, chat, like almost half your AP every single day was already accounted for. It would be nice if we get that QOL early, but I'm not counting on it at all. I assume that's something that they'll just go, nope, you not get no benefit on that. How are you supposed to clear events efficiently without gotcha Cs then? Diligent chatter. I am so glad you have asked this question. You have come to the correct person to ask that question, because I don't think any other content creator figured that one out other than me. And you're not going to like the answer. All right. Here you go, chat. So, there's a couple of factors that go into this. Factor number 1. Event shop. Factor number 2. Duration. Factor number 3. Did you roll? These are the 3 factors that will determine how you need to handle things. But I can simplify this for you as somebody that has done this for 2 years. You remember how I've talked about how I'm a psychopath when it comes to playing this game sometimes? This is why. So, I played every single event that JP ever offered. Most of them, I did not roll. And the ones that I did roll, well, chat, it's probably ones that you'll all roll, like summer. So you don't have to worry about that too much. I played every single one of these, and I realized you can do every single one of them free to play with your storm pods, but there's a method for how you have to do it. Now, let's talk about the 3 factors at first. What do I mean by event shop is one of the factors? Literally, how many rewards are in the event shop? It kind of matters. the good news is they just recently increased it. So the amount that you guys see in event shops now on JP is not the same as the amount you guys will be getting on NA for the next like year or two here. They just recently increased it. And thankfully, this is accompanying the change to storm pods. So we now have more time to be able to like get stuff in an event. And I think that's actually why they did. I think they realized that they weren't giving out enough rewards via events because they weren't running events enough. And they were like, well, we need to increase the amount of rewards in an event shop. And then they went, shit, we can't do that because everyone's AP is tied up in storm pods. So that's why they increased that recently. So we can cross this one out, and I can tell you that you will have enough to get at least within reason the things that you need. You might not be able to do a full 100% clear, get all statues type of thing, but you will be able to clear all ascension mats and all like essential materials. Okay. Next up is the duration of the event. Why does this matter? Well, all events on JP are 3-week events, with one exception. Lottos. Lottos don't count for what I'm about to say. Why? Because you're going to pop apples at a lotto. And if you don't, that's your own damn fault. It's the easiest way I can say that. Mr. Fox, thank you for the raid. Welcome, everybody. You came in at a good time. We were just talking about the upcoming storm pods and how chat needs to be able to handle them, since 120 of their AP every single day is going to be like earmarked for storm pods. Welcome, everybody. How's it going? How's your stream, bud? And that dumb 1 week raid. Okay, yeah, sure. Raids are kind of their own thing, right? Raids don't normally have a typical shop, so. And same issue applies as with lottos. You're gonna pop apples, so. Oh god, I need to finish LB7. You really do. You really need to finish LB7 because we got a lotto coming up, Fox. So on top of the collab event here that everyone's going to want to read. So hopefully the recent changes on storm pods come earlier for NA folks. I don't think they will, but if they don't, it's fine. Because so what I was telling chat for anybody that's just come in, and hello everyone, my name's Kadroth. If you guys have never met me before, I am somebody that streams FGO all the time. So you've come to the perfect location for any FGO questions you guys have. And again, if you guys haven't ever, go check out Mr. Fox for us as well. He loves to stream FGO. He also likes to stream his Girls Frontline too. If you guys have any interest in either of those games, he's definitely a good person to ask. And thank you for the gift, Kemba. Appreciate it. But yeah, so just kind of getting back to the point here. So I was talking about how there's 3 factors that actually go into whether or not you can free to play clear a event with storm pods taking up 120 of your AP. The first one was event shop. I said this doesn't really matter because I've done all of the events on JP and I can tell you that that one kind of resolved itself. You will be able to clear event shops like within reason. So you won't be able to do a full 100% clear, but you will be able to get all essential materials and all essential items. You just might not be able to get like statues and monuments entirely and stuff like that. The second one is the duration of events. Like I said, every event is usually a 3-week event, with the only exceptions being, again, as chat pointed out, a raid or a lotto. In those circumstances, it doesn't apply because you're going to be popping apples. We don't care. So the duration of an event also doesn't really matter, as we've learned. So that one's not a problem. Now, the next question is, did you roll? Guess what? Out of the 3 factors, this is the only one that matters. Why? If you rolled, you're more efficient in the event. So there are 2 possibilities. Possibility number 1, if you rolled, is that you get the event done early. You complete it in the exact same way as you always do, and you just are complete faster. Possibility number 2 is you rolled, and you choose to say, you know what? Rather than end the event faster, I now am more efficient in the event. Now I will full clear the shop. Now I will grab maybe those statues and monuments, or maybe like skill gems or something that are hanging around in the shop that I otherwise didn't need. So the idea is, if you roll, choose to make yourself more efficient in an event rather than less efficient. So try to actually get everything out of the shop at that point. So this one actually does matter, but you can still, even if you didn't roll, you can still complete every event on that AP. How do you do that? What is the strategy that I employed? Here, chat. So I already talked about this. You know that 3 storm pods are given to you a day. Each storm pod node costs you 40 AP. These are not nodes that you will do in the event. They are nodes that you will have to go do in the Bleached Earth quests. That means, as we already mentioned, 120 of your AP every day is accounted for already just from storm pods. And you really want to do them. Those nodes are extremely efficient. They're extremely lucrative. They're very, very good for you. And they're also the only way that you're going to get that star dust, basically, for the class score. So definitely still spend that 120 AP. But allow me to explain. You have a cap on storm pods up to 9. What does that mean? You get 3 a day. Your cap is 9, so you can hold 3 days worth of storm pods. So here is the strategy that I employed every single event from now till Kingdom Come in order to be able to get through each of the events like 100% of the time. It's really simple. For one, there's 2 rules here. Rule number 1, always start the event at 0 out of 9 storm pods. Okay? If you do that, you've already set yourself up for success. What does that mean? Don't go into the event sitting at 9 out of 9. Okay? That's a ton of storm pods you need to do. If you start out the event with all of your storm pods having already been used, you're good. Now, it's not the end of the world if you start at like 3 out of 9. It's just going to make you a little bit less efficient. Okay? Number 2, there is a cheat. There is a hack that you guys can employ. Because you can stack up to 9 in the last 3 days of any event, stop doing your storm pods. Don't do them. You can hold 3 days worth. So quite literally what you're doing is you are stealing back 360 AP at the end of an event. Why does that matter? Well, for starters, the end of the event is when you're the most efficient. That's when the best nodes are out. That's exactly what you want to do. You want to steal from the end of an event, not the front of an event. So you can store up to 9 out of 9 storm pods, end the event, and then do your storm pods before the reset that would hand you more the next day. And in fact, you don't even have to do them all before that point. You just have to do at least 3 of them so you don't miss any. Okay? Those are the 2 rules. If you employ them, you'll be successful. But then there's technically another thing you guys need to do. And this is the one that everyone hates. This is what makes me a psychopath. None of this made me a psychopath, chat, until this. Rule number 3. Always do the 90++. No matter how many turns it takes. That's what makes me a psychopath. But 90 plus is so comfy. It is. It is. Okay? But that is how you'll do it. So use the hack that I talked about with the storm pods. Start at 0, end at 9, and do your 90++. You missed my Summer Marie Xmas rerun 90 plus plus clears? Yeah. Now here, chat, allow me. Allow me. So you might be thinking, oh my god, CAD, no, oh my god, no, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna go do 90 plus. Hear me out. Hear me out, chat. Two things. One, how many turns did it actually take me? Usually that many. Here's why. Guess what, guys? Did you not roll? You don't have craft essences then. So you can use whatever craft essence you want, including things like Black Grail or the event's damage CE. So you can still 3-turn this quite often. However, you can cheat and you can FP roll 3-star CEs for an event. Keep in mind, though, then you can't run every craft essence you want. Then 3-turning becomes an issue. This did happen to me one time, and unfortunately, I can tell you where it was really, really bad. And this was an event that I actually did roll. It was Summer 8. And the node took me. It was like anywhere from 5 to 7 turns on average. That node sucks, by the way. Just FYI. So, in a weird way, it gets worse. 5 to 7? Oh, the normal for me. Yeah. But that's what I was going to say. Most of these, I did better. Isn't it Moon Cancer for the upcoming summer? No, let me go see. Actually, don't remember. I want to say it's an assassin node for reasons, because I remember who I used. And this is also going to be one. Yeah, I was going to say this is also going to be one that certain people are not going to be happy with if they didn't perchance roll a certain anniversary unit. No. Was it this one? Maybe I'm thinking of a different event then. Yeah, I don't think it was this event. It's definitely not this node. The 90 plus plus was 3-run 1 assassin. Okay. Wait, did I pass the 90 plus plus? Where was it? Yeah. This one. So this one I had to do with Castoria Berserker and Ask, aka Tonalico. So this one was spicy if memory serves me. Can Zerturia deal with it? Yes, but like chaotic, but not divine. Oh god, what did that do to me? Where did that take me? Oh. Oh yeah. It's coming back to me now. Oh, it's coming back to me now. So there's an issue with this. There's no damage bonus CE if memory serves. So damage bonus units are really nice for you. And then the other problem was you have like disjointedness for the team. You either need an AoE to be able to handle these two waves or an AoE to handle this while your single target handles two waves. And it causes problems for damage amplification. There is a damage C? Is there? Oh, that's right. I didn't use it. I did it without for max bonus. Now, that being said, I think this was when this stuff was still fresh. I was trying to do it as efficiently as possible with the storm pods. We hadn't had that many events yet for me to be able to tell. And so I think I was running a 6 slot, and that's what made this more annoying. If memory serves. Easy Summer Morgan node? 1.2 million is a little spicy. I wouldn't call that easy. Sounds like you? Yep. Like you said, I'm a psychopath, chat. So, what I learned, it can be done. Okay? Do you have to go as extreme as I did there? Not necessarily, but keep in mind, if you didn't roll, this would be really, really spicy. If you did roll, obviously, you're probably going to want to try to take advantage of the craft essences that you have. So in a weird way, it's almost more restrictive. I did the 90++ with MLBCs and UDK. I don't think you did. And I don't see how it took 5 turns. Not without like some really insane stuff going on there. Certainly not in P1. But no, this one is just a spicy one because of the disjointed nature of it. If you're like max stacking damage bonus and everything and you roll a crap ton and you have all the C's, it's probably not the end of the world. Probably really easy to do. But if you're trying to be as efficient as possible, you're trying to make sure you spare every amount of AP for your storm pods, it could get a little spicy. Scales of metals for 90++ is one I can skip farming hard. You can, but keep in mind the efficiency argument, right? The issue at play is going to be that instead of having 288 AP to put towards this, you have 100. You have 168 per day. So you get instead of 7 runs a day, you're going to get 4 runs a day. That's the impact that storm pods are going to have on you. It sucks, but it is the case. But like I said, I can at least attest to it is possible to do every single one of them. It is a major issue, and it was one of my biggest complaints that I had when they did this. It's that nobody should have to like allow me to state this. It's one thing to 5 to 7 turn chat. That's fine, right? But nobody should feel like they have to do this if they already have the capacity to 3 turn. So in that regard, the fact that players were kind of having to do this sometimes in order to eke out enough efficiency in an event is a design flaw. Because what this does to the player, it's fine enough to look at this from a developer standpoint and go like, maybe we're being inefficient. Like, sure you are, right? But the problem is the impact this actually has on the player. Because this takes a player that is sitting there like 3 turning every node and like being like, oh man, my account's so good. I've done such a great job with it. I've really invested in it. To now you're doing this, and this is becoming a regular occurrence. And then you start going like, what the heck is wrong with this game? Why did they design things this way? Why am I having to do this? It becomes a major point of annoyance for a player, and it feels like their account substantially got worse suddenly overnight. So I think that's why the devs started making the changes that they did. I think that's why they started having the cost to make players more efficient in the event. And then it basically got rid of the cost entirely because they knew this was a major problem. I think they knew the people that wanted to be efficient and wanted to get everything that they possibly could were the people that they were effing off. I think most people just pop apples. Yeah, that's the problem, right? You have psychopath players like me that won't do that. And that's exactly why I didn't. I did this for 2 years until they made those adjustments, chat. Why did I do that? I wanted to prove it could be done. I wanted to, when we got to this point, when chat was asking me, how do you handle this, CAD? I would be able to tell you that it is in fact possible. You can do it because I did it. So, like, the idea there is that, yeah, you can spin the apples, right? But that's going to come out of you on the back end some other way. Like, yeah, it's less apples you would use in a lotto or something like that. It's not something you have to do, but it is something to consider. And so I think the developers at least looked at that and they realized enough of the devoted fan base wasn't popping the apples that they went like, shit. Because that may have been their goal all along, was to try to like get apples out of us by doing that. And I think it backfired. Because I think one of 2 things happened. Players basically either did the event super efficient and burnt out, or players basically just said, oh, I'll pop an apple. I hate popping these apples like this, though. This is stupid. And then they also got burnt out. So I think they realized that this overall design strategy was just leading to burnout on both sides of the equation. And I can say this as I remember having discussions with Bob during these events where I would be doing it the super efficient way. Bob would be like, no, I don't want to. I'm going to go sit on like the 90 plus, or I'm going to go do the 90 plus plus, but I'm just going to 3 turn it and pop some apples. Both of us were dissatisfied. Neither of us liked the way that this worked, and both of us thought this was stupid. So like, Bob thought what I was doing was stupid. I thought what Bob was doing was stupid, but we both thought the way the game was designed was stupid. So it didn't really like pay off for them in the end. Like I said, I think it just straight up caused bad blood with the player base. Why is this psycho? I've done it since they introduced 90 plus plus. I thought it's normal for people to go for max efficiency. It is to a degree, right? Like, and I'm going to say, I think it's something that a lot of players retain from the old days of FGO, where like, man, we didn't used to have like charge aplenty. We were used to having to like 5-turn nodes. What's the thing? $120 a rash. Oh, okay. That makes a little bit more sense. Event mat drop bonus servants. Yeah, that too, right? So it's like, I think the devs looked at this. They said, this is just not working for us. And they realized that their restrictions were prohibitive. So, and chat, for the record, does anybody know why the developers did storm pods the way that they did? Like, why do you only get 3 storm pods a day? Why is there a cap on 9 storm pods? Why did they do this? Does anyone know? Because they did say. Yeah, so the reason you only get 3 a day is to stop no-lifing. What do I mean when I say no-lifing? I mean, it's to stop you from just degenning, popping a crap ton of apples, and finishing all class score requirements. The reason they capped you at 9 is to stop people from blue appling. So this was designed to prevent you from not playing the game for multiple days at a time. This was designed to force you to play the game. So both of these were counters to player how do I put this? They were counters to the way the player base was already acting. Here is the problem for this. This is incredibly stupid, and allow me to prove to you why right now. Actually, let's not go into this one. Go into let's do Archer. I haven't done Archer yet. Behold, chat. The max tier unlocker for class score. What do I need this for? I need it for this node right here. Well, what does this node allow me to get? The best 2 upgrades in the entire tree. The 5% crit damage up to all, and the 5% NP damage to all. These are the best 2 upgrades in the tree by far. And everything in these best 2 upgrades in each tree. So by the way, there's one over here, and there's another one on the flip side. Where is it? Right here. This one's also limited by another one of these unlockers. You can't get the best stuff in the class scores tree without these unlockers. These unlockers are only given to you by hand by the devs. They only give them to you when they want to. We've gotten a crap ton of these. We've gotten a few of these. And we have gotten barely any of these. We are already hard limited by the way in which they hand out the unlockers. So, stopping us from no-lifing by putting a limitation on our storm pods for how many we get per day just doesn't fucking matter. If someone wanted to no-life it and pop a crap ton of apples, that is an idiot tax. Because some of the best nodes have come out over time. They didn't all come out right at the beginning. So, like, if someone just, like, popped all their apples, like, okay, now I'm done with class score, that's cool. You're not going to want to go back then, though, when the better nodes come out. So it's like they didn't need to limit this at all. They could have just said, you can do as many of these nodes as your AP allows. And it's just a thing. So then the better question is, why the limitation on 9? Why do they need to limit blue apples? This is the problem one. This is the actual problem one. This is the one they had to do. And the reason they had to do it is because, chat, how many of y'all know people that just blue apple all day? They don't really play the game anymore. They just blue apple. That's why. I love the blue apples. Blue appling is such a great thing for this game. But the devs fucked up in one really key way. They didn't limit blue apples at all. The only limitation is the amount of seedlings, and that's it. So the devs were trying to correct their own mistake by punishing the player base. It doesn't go over well for them. Like I said, this is one of those deals where they kind of had to do this, but it's their own fault they had to do this. So I think at the end of the day, there was a much better solution than doing storm pods. I think they maybe could have tried to say, hey, look, we're not going to put a cap on like how many blue apples you can have and hold, but we're maybe going to put a cap as to how many blue apples you can create in a day. That would have solved the issue. If you said, hey, you can only create like 3 or maybe even 5 blue apples in a day, that would still force players to have to play some to not let the AP rot. That would still give them the incentive to log in, do their 3 dailies a day, yada, yada, yada. And I think they could have imposed such a limitation. And I think there would have been some people angry in the community. But I think the vast majority of the community would have easily accepted that limitation. And I think the people that would have gotten angry were logically the people that weren't playing already anyways. They were the people that were already abusing that. So I think that would have been the way to fix it. And I think that would have been better than doing storm pods. I think we could have made class score uncapped and just say, well, it is what it is, and it's limited by the unlockers. And we'll give you unlockers when we feel like it. And that would have worked better. And then you wouldn't have this insane requirement to do storm pods during an event. They would not have had to come back in and alleviate that and get rid of it. And I think the entire community would have been better off as a result. So, is what it is. That is the story of storm pods and how they have progressed and how you can handle them. Anyways, chat, it is 11 o'clock. I am tired. Let us end here for tonight. Let me see who all's on. You know what? Why don't we mix things up? Why don't I send you guys over to Mr. Rexlant? He's on tonight. He's playing some Wuthering Waves. And again, I'll be back tomorrow. Chat, tomorrow we have live stream for NA announcing the collab event. Should be an interesting one. Who knows what they will talk about and who knows what they will do. Definitely be covering that with you guys. And like I said, Friday is NP5 Draco rolls. So I hope to see you guys there for that. It's going to be a big one. And if you guys haven't already, check out the new content on YouTube. We've been pumping some of it out. Some of it's edited in a new way. Let me know what you guys think. Always happy to hear you guys' feedback on that. And as always, don't forget to join the Discord. Definitely happy to have you guys there too. So hope you guys have a good one. Go give Rexcellent my love and have a good one.